Tampa.
The largest railroad moving crude oil out of North Dakota says new federal safety regulations will not affect its shipments. Correspondent Tim McGuire reports on new regulations aimed at keeping communities safe from oil train derailments.
BNSF Railway says in a statement it will comply with the Transportation Department's regulation requiring state emergency management officials be told about movement of large shipments of the Bakken Formation crude oil. The department is also asking companies to stop using older generation tanker cars that have been involved in a number of fiery derailments over the past year, including one in which an oil train derailed and exploded in a Canadian town, killing 47 people. Tim McGuire, Washington.
The Obama administration says that it's troubled to hear that some school districts are raising barriers for children brought into the country illegally. Jackie Quinn explains.
The Justice Department is reminding school districts they have the legal obligation to enroll every student, regardless of immigration status. They are not to question when a student entered the country, nor require documents like a driver's license from parents if it would prevent a student from enrolling. A 1982 Supreme Court decision guaranteed the right to an education for children brought into the U.S. illegally. Attorney General Eric Holder vows his department will make sure schools meet that obligation. Jackie Quinn, Washington.
A breakfast cereal giant has agreed to settle a suit over claims that some of its products are all natural. Warren Levinson reports on the settlement over the Kashi brand.
Kellogg says it did nothing wrong, but it will pay $5 million to settle a lawsuit over using the words all natural and nothing artificial on products that contain a number of synthetic ingredients. Some of Kellogg's Kashi brand products carry that language, even as the ingredient list includes such items as pyridoxine hydrochloride. Kellogg says it will change the formulas or the labels by the end of the year. The suit is the latest to challenge food company labeling. PepsiCo, for instance, changed the name of a line of Lay's potato chips from Simply Natural to just Simply after it was sued. Warren Levinson, New York.
Burger King is changing its strategy to try and bring in more business with a new breakfast menu. Ed Donahue has the details.
Besides the usual egg sandwiches and pancakes, the breakfast menu at Burger King will also include Whoppers, cheeseburgers, its original chicken sandwich, as well as French fries and apple pies. Burger King is hoping burgers can give them an edge in the morning. McDonald's is the leader at breakfast time. Taco Bell is the latest to challenge the leader, even poking fun by using people named Ronald McDonald in their commercials. Wendy's recently decided to give up on a breakfast menu. I'm Ed Donahue.
And that's the news for Radio VR in Washington. I'm Kate Zickel.
And I'm Rick Young.
To health news, doctors at Johns Hopkins Medical School have discovered that bones are the coolest part of the body. The 10-year study found that although the body has many cool things in it, nothing is cooler than your skeleton.
Just think about it. You have this soft, fleshy body, but inside of it, there's a second, tinier body that's made out of a super hard rock. Our data is conclusive. Bones are very, very cool.
To conduct the study, researchers examined every single body part and determined how cool or uncool it was.
We initially thought the brain might be the coolest part because it's like a computer that runs on food. But when we looked at it up close, it was all gross and wrinkled. Brains are not cool. Bones are cool.
Doctors discovered that there are big, strong bones like baseball bats in your arms and legs, hand bones that look like a monster claw, and skull bones that make a scary face. Doctors did caution that as cool as human bones are, they're not nearly as cool as dinosaur bones.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. It's the live Saturday edition, and we invite you to take control of the airwaves here toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Live Saturday show with you tonight. It's Ian. Oh, and Mark, I didn't turn your microphone on. Let's try this now. Okay, there we go. So now we're ready for you, and we've also got Skype. The Skype username is lrn.fm. You know, when I was younger in the government school system, I don't know at what age it was, but I'm sure it was in elementary school when I really started to resent having to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I don't know if you had a similar experience, Mark, but I remember it from a very young age being bristling at the idea. I didn't know why I think I bristled at it. Maybe I just don't like to be told what to do. Maybe there was something about it that was a turnoff. But, I mean, it's not like I understood what the words really meant and how it's essentially a socialist indoctrination pledge. So I didn't get those subtleties about it, but I knew I didn't like it. And I tried to avoid saying it as often as I could.
No, I don't have that personality type. My personality type is that I tend to, go along with the group. I like that whole feeling of saying that I got when I said the pledge. So I often would feel quite patriotic, and that it would.
Made you want some apple pie?
I don't. Obviously,
fireworks.
It just made me feel patriotic. Yeah. So I particularly like that. But I got educated on the pledge over time, and that's what bothered me.
You mean as an adult?
As an adult.
Okay.
Yeah. I stopped saying the pledge as an adult. There are religions that refuse to say the pledge. Like, for instance, I know the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mennonites, the Amish. Many Quakers don't say the pledge. I'm a Quaker. And they don't say it for whatever reasons they have for not saying it.
Probably because it seems like idolatry.
Many religions look at it as idolatry. That essentially the Pledge of Allegiance is a prayer to a graven image, although it's fabric. It's obviously not graven, but it's not engraved, clearly.
Yeah.
And I mean, they see it that way, and so whatever it is that they see, that's fine by me. I think that the country was established in large part by Quakers. If you look at George Washington's interactions with the Quakers, he considered them to be a valuable part of the country. So the fact that they wouldn't say, of course, George Washington never said the Pledge of Allegiance. Abraham Lincoln never said the Pledge of Allegiance. Andrew Jackson never said the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance didn't come around until the very late 1800s, and it was put in, instituted by a guy who was, I believe he or his brother were flag salesmen.
That's right. Francis Bellamy.
And
he was a National Socialist.
Now, you got to consider that fascism really started in the United States. The ideas spread in Europe, and they spread to many problems over in Europe, but eugenics existed here in the U.S., and frankly, that's what all this was about. Nationalism wasn't as big of a deal until the 1850s, and many thinkers found it to be a valuable way to sort of get the lower classes on board with a lot of their ideas. They're not going to use the power of the idea itself. They'll use the power of being part of a team or a tribe in order to do it.
So if the politicians wanted to go to war, if a populace was more nationalist, they'd be more likely to go along with the idea of slaughtering those other people over there. They've got a different flag.
And flags have always been banners of war until about that time when they were starting to get populations behind them, and essentially, use the flag as a brainwashing tactic at the time, because it just wasn't as big of a deal back then. And what you'll notice is that most countries around the world, they don't have kids say the Pledge of Allegiance. It's not something that's done.
Well, apparently they do have them say an extra one in Texas. You've got a story tonight about a young man who I think I can relate to. He is in trouble. I remember an incident in high school where I was forced to leave a classroom, I think, over this. But he's in trouble for not saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And apparently, when you were researching the story, Mark, you discovered that Texas has its own Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, in other news, Texas has a Pledge of Allegiance. Going here from the New York Daily News, student in Needsville, Texas, is suspended for refusing to stand during the pledge. And the Texas Pledge. In other news, Texas has a pledge. The student here, his name is Mason Melekek. I don't know if I've got his Mikulek.
Okay.
A Texas teen was reportedly suspended. It's in-school suspension, by the way. So when they say suspended from school, it sounds like he's kept away from school. In-school suspension doesn't make much sense to me. Why not let the kid go to class? Really? Why are you
Don't learn.
What is this? I mean, it's taking an institution that looks a lot like a jail and then making it that much more like a jail.
It really is. And
Really?
maybe the idea is it punishes them because they can't socialize or something like that.
Awesome.
They're not around their
What a great
friends.
idea. I mean,
Of course, half the time if you go to a detention, there's other kids in there. So then you're just with the bad kids.
If my kid got an in-school suspension, I'd tell those people to take their school and shove it. I mean, why in the world would you send your kid to the high school that gives them the in-school suspension? Really? You're not going to let him go to class? So anyway, it's for refusing to stand up and pledge his allegiance to the flag. Now, how can you force someone to pledge their allegiance to a flag?
Apparently you can't force them, but you can disincentivize them. You can punish them for, after the fact, not participating.
What kind of country punishes people that refuse to say a loyalty oath to their flag?
Obviously, one sick with the problem of nationalism, the plague of nationalism.
Mason Mikulek, I'm going to go with that. A sophomore at Needsville High School claims he had taken a pledge not to say the pledge. I basically said it from the time I was in kindergarten to earlier this year, and that's when I decided I was done saying it.
Good for him.
The 15-year-old says he loves his country, but he doesn't agree with how the politicians are running it. Well, and I would disagree with it, because there really isn't a country, unless you're talking about dirt.
Yeah.
There is no country except...
There's the idea of America, right?
What does that mean?
Well, you know what it means. It's that feeling.
Flags? Colors? Eagles?
Well,
I like those things too, but the fact is the country is the politicians. It's not the people.
But that's not what people think. I mean, you're right, Mark. I mean, there are very specific definitions to words. But when people think of their country, they think of freedom. They think of liberty and their neighbors.
Who runs the country?
The politicians.
Okay. Then saying a pledge to the flag is saying a pledge to politicians.
Right. I mean, when you say country, you mean the government. You mean the United States federal government, because they don't run business.
We're not talking about amber waves of grain here.
I mean, if you want me to answer the question in a different way, I would say people who do their job and go to, start businesses, those are the people that really run the country. They're the ones who create the useful products and services out there.
That's like saying the horse runs the wagon. The fact is, the guy in the back with the whip that isn't pulling crap runs the horse. You can't say the horse runs the wagon when there's a man with a whip sitting over the horse. The pledge is the pledge to the guy with the whip. And that's all you can claim.
Harsh.
That's all it is. I mean, I came to this conclusion. If somebody can pull me off of this conclusion, I said the pledge to the flag for many years and would still say it if I hadn't come to this conclusion.
It probably wouldn't work as well, though, if it was an image of a man with a whip.
Right, that's what should be on the flag.
They have to paper over the violence of the state. They have to obscure it as much as they can. So, pledge to a flag, which of course, while it represents warmongering and destruction of lives and
I don't think
stealing,
it represents that necessarily, but that's what it has come to represent.
It represents everything the U.S. government does, right? Isn't the United States right? The flag is a representation of the 50 states come together under the United States. So everything the United States does is represented by the flag, which is why people burn it around the world.
Some people do, and it often has to do with not the people of the United States, because the people around the world often don't care about that. It's their government's policies.
So wondering how you feel about this young man getting in trouble for not standing up. Do you have a story that you can tell as well? Maybe you had a similar situation where you came to the realization that this whole Pledge of Allegiance thing isn't what it's cracked up to be.
Or maybe you think that my position is unpatriotic and reprehensible, in which case, please, convince me otherwise.
We have a toll-free number just for you, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Brought to you by ProXPN here on Free Talk Live. You can also connect with us on Skype. Our Skype username is lrn.fm. We come back with more of your calls and thoughts coming up here in moments on Free Talk Live.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-888-535-2965. 1-888-535-2965. That's 1-888-535-2965. 1-888-535-2965.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
If you are like most people, chances are you're malnourished. Most people do not get the 90 essential nutrients the body needs to survive. This lack of nutrition can lead to all sorts of health issues. If you don't feel as good as you'd like, or if you're looking to get a jump start on a new, healthier you, Youngevity has your answer. With the Healthy Start Pack, you get all the nutrients your body needs. With all 90 essential nutrients and 115 fruits and vegetables, you get a supplement system that is antioxidant rich and beyond compare. The Healthy Start Pack includes products backed by 40 years of science and millions of dollars in research, like Beyond Tangy Tangerine, EFA Plus 90, and OsteoFX Plus. To order your Healthy Start Pack today, call 607-739-5595. Again, that number is 607-739-5595. Once you start taking the Healthy Start Pack, you will see and feel why our motto is 90 for life.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308. Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
This is Free Talk Live, and it is the live Saturday edition. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You're welcome to tell us how you feel about the young man, sophomore, I believe it was, in high school in Texas, who he's in trouble, suspended, I think it was, for...
In-school suspension.
In-school suspension for not saying the pledge. And he has the resolve to continue not saying the pledge, so... Presumably, this is a developing situation. We will inform you more. There's more detail coming up here in moments. You can share your thoughts. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, and you can join us online at freetalklive.com. You know, whether or not you have taken the time and effort to install an alarm system in your home, we've got a really amazing piece of hardware that can help shore up your defenses against intruders. It's called the Door Devil. And I had my handyman install one of these at the LRN.FM studios because I am not handy in any way, shape, or form. And I asked him, what do you think about this product? Because Door Devil sent us one to, check it out, see what we think. And he said he was really impressed with it. I don't know if I can explain easily how it works, but it makes a larger strike plate, a much larger strike plate on the other side of the door frame.
It reinforces the door at the 3 points that doors tend to fail the most.
Yeah.
And consider that doors are where houses are broken into most of the time. When you kick a door in, you've got 2 or 3 minutes until the alarm goes off. If you kick a window in, you have no time at all.
Right, so people target the door when they're going into residences.
Burglars burgle through doors in the vast majority of the time. And if you have a wooden door, the chances are good that your door has these weak points. If you have a wooden door, every wooden door in your home should be shored up by the Door Devil, because if you're a burglar, you're not going to spend time on something that's that difficult to get in. And if so, it gives you some time. There may be people inside the house when the burglar tries to come in. You want that warning time.
Seconds can make a difference, and really you're only looking about spending about $60 on this. So go to doordevil.com, and again, that's doordevil.com as we continue here. You can, of course, connect with us on Skype. Our Skype username is lrn.fm. Let's continue the story, Mark, from Texas. And what's the source on the story, by the way?
It's the New York Times, okay. Not New York Times.
New York Post?
Not New York Post. Hold on just one second here. Daily News. I'm sorry.
Okay, New York Daily News.
Yep. So the 15-year-old says he loves his country, but he doesn't agree with how the politicians are running it. I'm really tired of our government taking advantage of us, says Mikulek. I don't. His first name is, I believe it's Mason. Okay. Excuse me. I don't agree with the NSA spying on us. I don't agree with any of those internet laws. He mentions in the interview CISPA, and what he seems to be is a young man who's tuned in.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
Who's paying attention to what's going on in this country, and if the conclusions he's come to is that he believes that the politicians run the country, and that when one says a pledge, that one is essentially saying a pledge to the politicians. Because, patriotism, that's what it is. It's a tool of those in charge to get you to do what they want. People laud and applaud people who join the military for their patriotism and their heroism. And they may very well be patriotic and heroic, but what does that patriotism and that heroicism get used for? It gets used for the will of the politicians. And we know what a politician is. The synonym is liars and thieves.
Yep.
So,
why would you want to pledge allegiance to those people?
Why would you want to because that's effectively what one does.
Right.
Now, I think that this young man's refusal to say the pledge begins a conversation. Oftentimes, it can begin a conversation in the wrong ways. It can be very difficult to begin the conversation this way. There's a situation where we read in the news where a Jehovah's Witness man didn't stand or say the pledge, didn't stand for the national anthem at a baseball game, and some fan who couldn't have been that drunk at the early part of the game decided that the best use of his time and energy was to attempt to beat this guy up.
Oh
and
my
assault
goodness!
Him. So. This is...
When did we talk about that? I don't recall.
It's been years.
Okay.
But that's just indicative of the sort of things that happen. People don't want to hear about the pledge's roots. They don't want to hear about... They just want you to say, hey, get in line and do what we do.
Well, why would they want to hear the fact that the Pledge of Allegiance was written by a National Socialist? Why would they want to hear about, the fact that it's essentially an indoctrination... what is the word I'm looking for? The indoctrination mantra. Not mantra is probably not the right term, but mantras may be typically shorter than the pledge. But something you say over and over again, recitation, that you're indoctrinating people in the beliefs in the state, and to come to the conclusion that the pledge is bad would mean that you'd have to admit that for hundreds of days, thousands of days in your life while you were at the government school system, you had participated in this brainwashing. And that could be a pretty uncomfortable thing, a conclusion to come to.
Well, I'll tell you what's uncomfortable. What's uncomfortable is if you go and do a Google image search for Nazi salute to the U.S. flag, and you come across a picture of a classroom full of little black kids giving the Nazi salute to the U.S. flag. Once you see that, picture, I don't think you can pull it out of your mind anymore.
Well, there's more than one picture, and it's not just black students. There's students all over the place.
That's completely true. There's no doubt about it. But I think that for me, when I see the pictures, the little black kids doing it, I'm like, it takes my breath away.
Let's go to the phones. Rob's in Virgin Islands, I think. Hey, Rob, you're on Free Talk Live listening to Radio 1. Hello, Rob? Rob in the... Hey, we got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this kid can definitely refuse to say the pledge for religious, national, or he's a freeper or whatever he believes. You know, the state can't force you to say the pledge, and you can't put him in suspension.
Well,
but
they did.
I'm calling to question what you guys have against the pledge in general. I mean, the country is more than dirt. It's not just politicians. I mean, the country is the republic. It's Free Talk Live. It's leave me alone. It's I want to be free. Don't bother me. And if you do, I want electoral control over those who do have. I mean, that's America.
When is the last time you were left alone by the government?
No, I wasn't. That's why I love you guys. But but the people who started this government didn't imagine it to be an overweening thing that would tell you how much water your toilet can flush. I mean,
depends who you ask.
Here's the conclusion I came to, and it took me a little while. Remember, I like red, white, and blue. I like Eagles. I had a '76 Eldorado convertible decked out with flags at one point in my life, but I came to a different conclusion, and my conclusion was, what do I do? What is going to do more to support my position, standing up, saying the pledge, not rocking the boat, or taking a stand for what I believe in, and then perhaps somebody listening, taking the opportunity to come and talk to me about it. And that's the conclusion I came to was, we've got where we are for the last 100 years by standing up and saying the pledge, which ultimately, to me, comes down to a pledge to politicians.
But I mean, this is a different country from everybody else. We're not French. We don't really have a unifying language anymore. We don't have a unifying culture. We got people from every country, every kind of religion. We need a civic binding thing, not that there's little few words at a school.
Rob, if you want to hang on, I'd love to have you continue the conversation. Stand by. We can bring you back here in a moment. He's listening down in the Virgin Islands. 855-450-FREE is the toll-free number here tonight. You can take control of the airwaves on Free Talk Live. It's a live Saturday show.
There are many things the human body can do very well, but maintaining the proper pH level isn't always one of them. That's where AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops can make a world of difference. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops helps your body do what's natural. Just a few drops a day helps rid your body of harmful waste and acid while promoting health and restoring vibrance and energy. Alkalizing boosts your immune system and can help fight headaches, irritability, cramping, and insomnia. Alkalizing also helps the body fight depression and even bone loss. To learn more about the importance of alkalizing and how you can find life-changing and vital balance, please visit AlkaVision's brand new website at alkavision.com. Same great products, but now easier to use and more informative than ever before. To get your very own plasma pH drops for just $29.95, call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. That's ALKA vision.com. Alkalize your body and supercharge your health at the new alkavision.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
There's a treasure hunt going on at mathgate.info, a Bitcoin treasure hunt. You can find Bitcoins by proving theorems. So, learn some logic, do some math, find some Bitcoins. Even better, mathgate.info is designed to be used anonymously. So, connect to mathgate.info through Tor, prove some theorems, find some anonymous Bitcoins. Don't wait, others are already searching for the Bitcoins. Go to mathgate.info today and join the treasure hunt. There are anonymous Bitcoins to be had for the taking at mathgate.info.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and it's the live Saturday edition of the program. We're talking about indoctrination in the form of the Pledge of Allegiance. One student in Texas has it figured out. He's not interested in pledging his allegiance to these politicians. And why would anyone be interested in doing that? Oh, yeah, anybody who knows what's really going on behind the scenes of the Pledge of Allegiance, the fact that it was written by a National Socialist in the 1800s for the purpose of indoctrinating people into worship of the state, you come to those conclusions as an adult if you haven't been brainwashed by being forced to say the pledge over and over again. It might be easier to come to conclusions like that, but many Americans bristle at the idea of critiquing the pledge, talking about its history, because it's an uncomfortable history, one that's not very pretty.
People that would agree with me when I say that the government is of the lawyers, by the lobbyists, for the corporations, will at the same time say that we must respect the Pledge of Allegiance.
Still have to pledge to those corporations, lawyers, and politicians.
And that's what the republic is. Honestly, I mean, yeah, you've got to vote, but consider for a second that only 20% of the states, 10 of the states are really swing states. So when you're talking about, who voting for a president, I mean, if you're in Texas and you're a Democrat, you might as well not spend the gas to go out and vote. If you're in California and you're a Republican, why would you drive to the polling place to vote for a Republican on a presidential election?
So we'll get back to your phone calls here on this in a moment. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
So, going to vote may not count for much in a presidential election, but you can go to coffee.freetalklive.com and get a free pound of coffee. And everybody gets that. You don't have to wait to try to be the deciding vote. Just go to coffee.freetalklive.com. You pay the shipping, we'll pay for the pound, and it's BuzzBox coffee. It's shade-grown, 100% organic, top 1% grade Arabica coffee. And what's different about BuzzBox coffee? Because you can get high-end coffee, delicious high-end coffee on the internet, there's no doubt about it. Even shade-grown coffee, which is better for people like me that get a little acid reflux from regular coffee. But the difference with BuzzBox is, for every 10 people that purchase BuzzBox through our link, we're able to give another microloan to a family around the world that's going to change their lives, a way that they're going to be able to get a hand up instead of a hand out. And this is what I truly believe in. I don't believe in government-sponsored NGOs, charities, these kind of things. I believe that if we can work person to person, helping people in the way that they need the help, not the way we think they need the help, the way they need the help, that we really can change lives. So if you want to change lives, please go get your free pound of coffee to start out with. You can cancel your subscription at any time. If you continue to get the subscription, we will be using your help to give a microloan to somebody. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
All right, let's go back to Rob. He is in the Virgin Islands. You're back on Free Talk Live, Rob. Now, what you were saying with us or to us before was that you thought that the Pledge of Allegiance was a good thing because it was unifying, that there's all these different cultures and people here in the United States from somewhere else around the world, and you feel like it's a unifying thing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just wanted to kind of recap what you were saying. Am I accurate there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I love your show, and I love the fact that you reflexively are against a bunch of people droning on in a big herd-like environment about something political, an oath. I mean, that's cool. But yeah, we don't have a unifying culture anymore. I mean, the country used to be pretty much European. It's not. It used to be pretty much Christian. There was sort of a set of third values that if it's me against you and we're in some sort of battle, we did sort of share some third outside loyalty to something. And that's really eroding in our society. And I don't think that the republic is the government. I mean, they specifically could have said, I pledge allegiance to the government. You know, members in, yes, they're my king.
But they did say that. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. That is, the United States of America is a government. That is the federal government.
It's the name. It's the word on top of the Constitution, which is the founding document for the government.
But Mark, you had a question for Rob.
I want to ask, what about the Texas pledge here? Because I had never heard of the Texas Pledge of Allegiance.
Can we read that? Hold on. Let me pull it up here. I've got it. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
It's interesting to hear modern kids saying the. What about this? I mean, does Texas need to be unified too? Does it need a unifying culture? Is this pledge going to be good for it?
Well, I think Texas has a unique history. They're a little more nationalistic than other states.
Yep.
They're the only state that came in with a provision that they can leave if they want. They were an independent country. I'm not from Texas, but I'm considering moving there, sort of my version of the Free State Project. But
good luck getting it.
But yes, exactly. They've got millions of foreigners who consider Texas their land and want to reconquer it and change the language and have a different political culture and a different flag.
So yes, you think it's a good idea that Texas has a See, I thought that the pledge for Texas kind of lampoons. It shows to those of us in the 49 other states, look how strange this is. Texas has in other news, Texas has a pledge to its flag. Apparently, not that doesn't work for you. So the fact that places there are plenty of other countries around the world that are melting pots too that choose not to have a pledge. I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
What country?
Most of the countries around the world don't have pledges. So therefore,
what country shares our structure where we have the most open? I mean, we have by far the most open borders, and I'm talking about the legal immigration. I mean, our immigration percentage is crazy compared to the world. I mean, most of the rest of the countries want to preserve their national character.
I don't think that's necessarily true, because the fact is that many countries people just don't want to move to, but the United States, like for instance, in the Western Hemisphere, the U.S. State Department has worked very hard to make it more and more difficult for Americans specifically to move to South American, Central American countries. I mean, they've put a lot of money into infrastructure as far as immigration goes, and for instance, I mean, we can see what happened with Canada. You used to be able to go to Canada with just a driver's license. Now you can't go unless you've got a passport. That's not because Canada wants to keep people from the U.S. out.
Well, yeah, I've actually been arrested by the Canadians innocently crossing the border. But what do you mean that Americans – I'm not arguing with you. I just don't know. I didn't know Texas had a pledge. I'm learning a lot from your show.
Well,
what do you mean America is restricting us from emigrating to the rest of the Western Hemisphere?
The United States government doesn't like the idea of people moving countries around. It bothers them. They want people to stay in their little spots. And as evidenced by the fact that they get all upset when wealthy Americans decide to leave. There's an exit tax, and they try to sick the lawyers on them. They're sending IRS agents around the world to try to get U.S. citizens, in some cases people who have never lived in the country, on board paying their stuff. They've been suing people in Canada for having to pay income taxes. They're tracking people down in Panama. That IRS agents are trying to see where Americans are hiding their money. It's this big thing. They're trying to claw more money back. The Republic is trying to very best to get as many of its minions to pay extra money as it possibly can.
I didn't know that. I know that's true in Switzerland, and a lot of Swiss American joint citizens or expats over there can't even get a mortgage now.
Almost all over the world. Banks around the world are refusing to give accounts to U.S. citizens. I'd tell you go there and you're in the U.S. Virgin Islands, right?
Yeah. Well, you're a libertarian. Do you guys support just getting rid of the 16th Amendment?
That's the income tax amendment.
Yeah, I think the income tax is.
I have already gotten rid of the income tax.
I think it's it's a violation of the 13th Amendment, which says there's no involuntary servitude. If I've got to spend, my wife used to spend 40 hours a year filling out these income tax forms. If I've got to spend any time filling out paperwork for you, I have become your involuntary servant. And so that's unconstitutional in my mind.
Rob, thanks for your call tonight. I do appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If it's valuable to have this unification, this idea that somehow all these diverse cultures need to be brought together with some sort of pledge to the state, why is that valuable? That's what I'd like to know. If you'd like to answer, you can dial toll-free or bring up anything that you want. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to begin? Do you fear your job is in jeopardy, or is your business income reduction keeping you awake at night? We're in the best time in 25 years to make a fortune in real estate without using your money or credit. My name is Ron LeGrand, and I've taught 500,000 people to do just that and personally bought hundreds of houses myself. If you'll call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and leave your information, I'll send you the first 500 callers my hot new CD, Foreclosure Fortunes, and my best-selling book to help you get started absolutely free. I'll show you how to build a six-figure income part-time with no previous experience and no license, even if you're a busy professional. Call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and get my new book and CD free. That's 800-970-6156. Take your life back and make this your best year ever. Call 800-970-6156 now.
It's hard to imagine when things are going reasonably well, just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse? Massive crop failure? Chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. freezedryguy.com.
Copblock.org/pivothead. To ensure that a record of the truth of police interactions exists and is accessible, we each need a film. That's why we're happy to announce the Accountability Through Transparency video contest, the winner of which will receive a pair of Pivothead sunglasses. For more information and to submit your video entry, go to copblock.org/pivothead. 1. Document with a camera a police employee exhibiting double standards or the standards we expect them to live up to. This can be done while on foot, during a vehicle stop, while submitting an open records request, etc. 2. Upload your video to your YouTube channel. 3. Fill out the form at copblock.org/pivothead by the deadline of midnight Eastern Standard Time, May 23rd, 2014. 4. The winner, chosen by contest sponsors, will be notified by email, and the Pivot Head sunglasses will be shipped once a mailing address is received. Copblock.org/pivothead.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Have you ever wanted to move to the land of Libpair? Libertarian paradise, where there's fun for everyone that doesn't initiate force on others, fun for the kids, parties for the adults, buy and sell in silver or Bitcoin, scenic hikes and gun shoots, speeches to educate us all. The Porcupine Freedom Festival is Libpair in the White Mountains of New Hampshire for a week this summer, June 22nd to 29th. Get your tickets now before there's no more room. Porkfest, the event of a lifetime. Porkfest.com. That's PORCFEST.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind. Just dial toll-free 855-450-FREE. Though the overarching topic tonight, the flag and the pledge to the flag. Young man in Texas, high school student, has been suspended, in school suspension, for refusing to say the pledge. We actually haven't plowed through the entire story yet. I think there's a quote or two from the young gentleman himself as to his motivations and his future plans. We will share more of that with you as we get the chance. Of course, your calls and thoughts are welcome here at 855-450-FREE. That toll-free number brought to you by ProXPN. It is a global virtual private network that encrypts your data online, whether it's the data coming into your computer or leaving your computer. It's all encrypted by ProXPN, which means that your internet service provider, whoever they are, can no longer monitor you. Right now, they're probably logging every website you visit, every search term that you enter. They may be keeping that information for up to 5 years. So you can stop that from happening right now by going to proxpn.com/FTL. Download their software. It's available for Windows, Mac, iOS devices, and Android. There's instructions for Linux users and others. You can email ProXPN's support staff to get those. It's pretty simple to get it set up for Linux. Anyway, you go to proxpn.com/FTL, grab the software, and get started. You can start and try it out for free, but you're going to want to upgrade to the premium account because you get unlimited bandwidth with premium. You can privately torrent with their premium account, and you can select the server around the world to which you would like to connect. So you get a lot of privacy protection for a very low price. In this case, you can get the price down to $5 per month, and you can do that with our discount code FTL20. That gets you 20% off for the lifetime of your account. That's code FTL20, and you get the $5 price point when you order the year-long package. But that 20% off will be good if you only want to do the monthly package too. So again, go to proxpn.com/FTL, use our code FTL20, get the deal, and get some privacy online. It's a very handy service. I'm a fan of it. Let's continue here with you and your thoughts. Piero is listening in Madison to the Mike 92.1 WXXM. Hey, Piero.
Good morning.
Hey.
Or afternoon.
It's morning somewhere.
Hey, yeah. As a fellow libertarian, I just first want to thank you. It's a great show.
Thanks.
I'm not sure I agree with the pledging to the indoctrination of the state. And I can just real quickly say that, when you go around the world and you meet people, a lot of times they're fascinated with you being an American. They understand that you don't agree with the policies of your leaders, if you will. And so I think there's a huge difference between the implication or dream of America itself and the actual application. And I think, to me, the Pledge of Allegiance...
Do you think the pledge forwards the dream, though? I mean, I don't... It says liberty and justice for all. I don't see more liberty and more justice for all in my lifetime.
It seems to be forwarding blind nationalism to me, and that's dangerous.
Well, I disagree, because I think the intent of the individual saying the pledge has just as much meaning as what you may get out of it. I mean, I served in the military, and I see, to me, the Pledge of Allegiance is to that dream of America. It's not to the reality so much, if that makes sense.
Well, then why wouldn't it, just to clarify then, I understand what you think and feel about the pledge, but the words in the pledge have very specific meanings. Pledging to the United States, that's not pledging to liberty and freedom and sticking up for the rights of others or anything like that.
Allegiance is a word that comes from league, my league, the king. Allegiance says you bow down in a subservience to a governing body. I mean, that's what it means. You can use it in other ways in a sentence, there's no doubt about it, but when used in a context of a loyalty oath, it's pretty clear what it means.
But what if I'm using it, my allegiance is to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
I wish they said that stuff. I wish they said that. They say
agree with you.
Liberty and justice. But let me ask you this, though. How has saying a pledge to liberty and justice for all increased liberty and justice for all in this country in the last 100 years? The pledge is more than 100 years old.
Maybe in the sense that it brings about an awareness again to that dream.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, to me, it did.
There's no more freedom. There are fewer freedoms now than there were 100 years ago.
I guess I should have asked that question. Do you believe that you have more freedoms now than you did 10 or 15 years ago?
No, I don't. I think you're absolutely right.
Then the pledge is a failure.
But I still have the dream.
Okay, I love the look. I love that feeling.
Stay in the dream world, then, man. I mean,
I love the feeling, like you love the feeling. But to some extent, I feel like that feeling gives power to the people in Washington.
What about the word indivisible? I mean, how can they say indivisible before the word liberty? Doesn't that contradict? If liberty is important, then shouldn't the freedom to leave the United States be one of the primary rights? I mean, we know what happened in the Civil War. The whole let's leave thing didn't work out very well. Maybe we'll see some state peacefully secede in the future. But if liberty is important, then shouldn't the freedom to leave be important instead of indivisibility?
I agree. And again, it takes me back to the ideology of our country, not the application. I mean, we're at a terrible state right now with life, liberty, and justice. I mean, we're almost like devoid of all of them, and it's like all I have is that dream.
So pledge louder,
right? More, give me more of the dream. Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Let me just say this: if we had the Constitution being fulfilled, wouldn't this country just be the most incredible experiment ever?
From what I can tell, the Constitution is being fulfilled. Either the Constitution has brought this government to us, or it has failed to stop it. And I don't know what else to say about that. The Constitution carries within it, it is a contract between dead men. It has no binding power on you and I. And it has failed to keep this government small. Thomas Jefferson said, let us, he was talking about criminals as governing agents and regular criminals. He said, let us bind the one with the chains of the Constitution so that they may protect us from the other. Have they been bound by those chains?
Because the Constitution was refused ratification without the Bill of Rights. Those 10 Bill of Rights, the initial 10 civil rights, have all been violated. Had we not allowed that, and had we not allowed that.
Wait, I didn't sign it. The people who signed it apparently allowed it, because in the second administration, John Adams, he signed into law the Alien Sedition Act.
Piero, I have a question for you. You talk about the people who are saying the pledge have certain beliefs, they have certain intentions, and so that's to you what matters. And I get that. That makes sense. When you're observing a piece of art, obviously it's going to hit you in a certain way, and your interpretation of that art is going to be different than someone else's interpretation of it. But also the intentions of the artist matter, right? So does it bother you at all that this was written by a socialist, a national socialist?
I guess not really. No.
You don't think that? What if you saw a picture of school kids, maybe black school kids, with their arm raised in the Nazi salute to the American flag? Because that's how it used to be said. Would that bother you?
If it was done through choice, no.
Well, do you have a choice? The obvious thing here is this young man doesn't have a choice. He's being suspended.
Right. Hey, thanks, Piero.
Yes,
I appreciate the call tonight. You get the radio in the background's a little distracting. Yeah. So, so in the case of school, it sometimes doesn't feel like you have a choice, right? When you are in this authoritarian environment with these teachers telling you what to do all day and administrators telling you what to do, it feels like you have to stand up, especially when in this case, they'll tell you, look, you don't stand up, you're going to in-school suspension. Yep. And so that doesn't feel like a choice. That feels like coercion. Yes, he can still choose not to stand for the pledge and not to say the pledge. Then they will choose to put him in in-school suspension. So did he, are the students choosing every day to say the pledge? Yes, but it's not exactly a freely made choice now, is it? It's more of an indoctrinated choice. It's more of an expected choice and a highly encouraged and punished choice.
Well, when you start in kindergarten and you do it every day until...
It's straight up brainwashing.
I mean,
that's rote brainwashing over and over, repeating the same phrase.
And I can tell you, in my school, you were forced to stand. You didn't have to say it, but you were forced to stand.
Steve's in Utah. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Steve.
Hey, I was going to say that exact thing. It's pretty much a brainwashing tool. The Pledge of Allegiance, you keep saying it over and over again until it's hammered in, to where people think that this country is one little country, not as an example. One time I was telling somebody that we were 50 states, and I brought up the European Union, the United States of Europe. If you ask somebody in that country, what country are you from? They'd say Spain, Italy, Germany.
Yeah, that's a good point. Steve, if you want to say more, stand by. We can bring you back in hour number 2 coming up here in moments on Free Talk Live.
What if humans found a habitable planet, set up housekeeping, and then got left alone by Earth and its big government? Well, that happened in Freehold, Michael Z. Williamson's seminal work. Now available for the first time in a signed, limited hardback edition. Other books in this series are also available in paperback. I cannot recommend a modern fiction work more highly than Freehold. Earth might have left Freehold alone, but it doesn't stay that way. It's war. Get your copy right now at all major booksellers and shop.freetalklive.com.
Gold Bond presents Shaquille O'Neal.
So I'm hanging out with my Gold Bond buddies, and they're like, Shaq, great job with the Gold Bond powder spray. People love it. So I'm soaking in the good vibes, kicking off my shoes. Next thing I know, they're coming out with a new foot powder spray. Boom. Shaq strikes again.
Gold Bond No Mess powder spray cools and refreshes your body. And new Gold Bond foot powder spray has 2 times the odor-absorbing powders to do the same for your feet.
Stay cool with Gold Bond.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, May 10th, 2014. Silver is trading at $19.16 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,289 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $449. Antiwar.com reports Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon has long been pushing for increased budgets, just as every other defense minister on the planet does, but this week revealed a rather shocking turn of events. The Israeli military is supposedly broke. Despite billions of dollars annually in military aid from the U.S., Yalon announced next month's Turning Point 8 military exercise is canceled, and all other drills are expected to follow because Israel flat out can't afford them. Uncle Sam is always good for a bit more, though, right? That's what Yalon is hoping, as he and other officials are pressing the U.S. not only to announce an extension of their annual $3 billion in military aid to the country beyond 2017, when the current pledge expires, but to beef it up to something more like $3.5 billion. That's the opposite direction from what President Obama was thinking, as he'd been talking more about $2.8 billion as part of a sharing sequestration plan that Israeli officials had long insisted they were okay with. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. Ballot Access News reports 2 statewide initiative petitions were submitted in Illinois last month. One provides for a nonpartisan redistricting commission, and one would impose term limits on state legislators. Both are the subject of attempts to have them disqualified on the basis that neither subject is permitted. A story from the AP gives details. Republican businessman Bruce Rauner, who's leading the term limits ballot initiative, is challenging Governor Pat Quinn, a Chicago Democrat, who once championed term limits. The lawsuit, which argues that state election officials should not spend public money on the proposals, was filed by election attorney Michael Casper. He's represented many top Democrats over the years, including Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Lawyer Lori Lightfoot, once a finalist who head the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago, represented those fighting the lawsuit, claiming that yet more money will be spent to adjudicate the case. Cook County Circuit Court Judge Mary Mikva disclosed in court that she had connections to people on both sides of the case if attorneys wanted to raise objections, though it appeared neither side did. Representatives for both ballot initiatives questioned the timing of the lawsuit, which was filed last week as both groups delivered hundreds of thousands of signatures to the State Board of Elections. Michael Kolink, campaign manager for Yes for Independent Maps, told reporters after the hearing, "That smells of politics to me, but it will really be up to the court to decide." You've heard of ShinyBadges.com, but you need to check out the New Causes tab. Every item in that section includes a donation to a worthy liberty project like Hoodie the Homeless. So go to ShinyBadges.com, click on the New Causes tab, and get yourself a quality product that not only supports the cause you believe in, but starts a conversation with your neighbors. Plus, get a free gift when you pay with Bitcoin at ShinyBadges.com. Antiwar.com reports the U.S. State Department responded to Ukraine's military assault on the southeastern city of Mariupol yesterday with a statement condemning the protesters that were killed by Ukraine's invading tanks for jeopardizing public order. State Department spokeswoman Jen Psaki insisted the violence was caused by pro-Russian separatists and insisted their protests were being carried out in violation of Ukrainian law. Though some of the protesters are indeed separatist, much of the movement in the East is simply seeking increased autonomy and guarantees of rights of the ethnic Russian minority that dominates the East. The State Department demanded that the protesters immediately disarm and abandon all public buildings to the incoming Ukrainian military, following this up with a call for Russia to similarly demand an end to all public protest in Ukraine's east. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On May 6, 1937, the explosion of the German passenger ship Hindenburg brought cheer to an entire generation of Americans in the midst of the Great Depression. The souls of the American people were fleetingly revitalized by the flame-engulfed Zeppelin and the shrill screams of burning passengers leaping to their heartwarming deaths.
Oh my, it's burst into flames! The burning embers and charred flesh are cascading splendidly onto the mooring mast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrific thing I've ever seen. Oh, the luminosity, the gaiety!
And on May 7th, 2000, Vladimir Putin became president of Russia after promising citizens he could bend anything they gave him with just his bare hands. And that was what happened this week in history. In the words of the Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, whoever wants to foresee the future must first look at the past and then imagine all that old stuff looking more future-y and space-like.
This is Free Talk Live, and we're talking about the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. One young man in Texas has been suspended, in-school suspension, for refusing to participate in this indoctrination. And apparently, there's an extra level of it in Texas where the Texans actually have their own Pledge of Allegiance. So I guess he didn't want to participate in either one of them. And want to get your thoughts, your experiences on, what's it been like for you? Have you gone through this where you've been in a classroom or in some other environment? Because there's sometimes you'll be, as an adult, you'll encounter the Pledge of Allegiance, like, go to a city council meeting or something like that. Sometimes they'll do them there. I had an interesting case. I was at I believe a Chamber of Commerce meeting. We said the pledge. I stood. I just stand. I don't say the pledge. And what happened? I won't stand. What's that? I won't stand. Well, look, I'm doing business, man. Yeah. And I'm not there to try to convert people at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. That's not going to convert anybody. But consider for a second that what happened was the lady decided she'd do a little trivia after the pledge. Hey, does anybody know who wrote the pledge? And I said, Francis. Of course, because people are expecting you to say Scott Key. I kind of drug out the Francis. Francis Bellamy, and then I told her, sort of gave a little history of the pledge, including the original salute to the pledge, and showed people what it was, where I extended my arm. The Bellamy salute, as it is called, also known as the fascist salute. Yeah, the Roman it looks salute. For all the world very, very similar to the Hitler salute. In fact, Hitler borrowed it, essentially. Changed it up a little bit. The Roman salute is what it was called at one point, too. And actually, I got in a little bit of trouble with my boss over it. All right, let's go back to the phones here, and we'll continue the story here because we still have yet to hear from the young man in this case. What is his rationale? What is he thinking? We'll get back into that in a moment. But Steve has been waiting patiently. He was on the very end of the first hour, and Steve, I wanted to make sure you had a chance to get all your thoughts out about the topic. So go ahead. Yeah, I've talked with people about the severance of the United States, each state being an individual country. And, man, I run into a lot of resistance. Probably 20 years ago, I would have also said, no, this is one country. And that indoctrination was so complete that it wasn't until last decade or two that I really woke up to the fact that we were set up as 50 separate nations who held together as a single unit for certain purposes, and we were still one separate nation. Yeah, it's my understanding that was the 14th Amendment was sort of the big changeover from, at one point, people considered their country to be their state. I mean, and that's what state means. A state is an organization that has a monopoly privilege on the use of violence in a given geographic area. Mm-hmm. That's what a state is. However, this was what the United States is a federation of states, hence the name federal government. But what has happened over time is power tends to coalesce. And now, and the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, what a surprise, the federal government's judicial body said, oh no, once you're in the union, you're not allowed to leave. Right? What a surprise. And so what happened, when you can't leave, once you can't leave, then the other party in the contract can do whatever they want. You have no power. Right. The difference between a home and a jail is that you're not free to leave the jail. That's right. That's the difference. Steve, any other thoughts you want to share tonight? Yeah, I wanted to thank you because I had never really thought that we were saying Pledge of Allegiance to the politicians, and I absolutely agree with that. That's what that's saying. So I got to hand it to the boy. I didn't think of it in high school, and I really have, once you make a stand in your life or something like that, you learn so much, and he's going to be
learning far more than he ever learned in all his previous years of school.
It sounds like you're on the road right now, but when you get in front of a computer terminal, type up Google a Bellamy salute and check the image results for it. It's a real shocker. Thank you for the call tonight, Steve. We also posted one. You. Thanks. Yep. We also posted one of those pictures on our Facebook, Google Plus, and Twitter, so you can go and see it there if you're listening live
at facebook.freetalklive.com.
That's right. So you can see like young school children, elementary school, doing essentially the Nazi salute to the United States flag. Talk about creepy. It's surreal. It's creepy. Let's go to Joe, listening in Madison, Wisconsin, to WXXM. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're on the air.
I just wanted to... Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We got you. Go for it.
Okay. The story reminds me of myself in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think we said the pledge so much in high school except for maybe special events, but in middle school, I was so uncomfortable. There was a point, I don't remember when it happened, but there was a point where I realized that this act of everybody standing up, reciting this pledge of allegiance, that was programming, and I refused to participate in it. And whenever the Pledge of Allegiance is said now, I'm really uncomfortable. I don't want to participate, but out of respect for whoever I'm surrounded by, usually it's people I enjoy, whose presence I enjoy, don't want to insult them,
It's hard to get a good conversation going. It's hard to get a good conversation going after they sort of feel like, I mean, you've done everything but spit into their dead uncle's face, right? And my uncle died on the beaches of Normandy. There's no doubt about it. And this is almost inevitably the first thing that you'll hear when talking about it. And I'm surprised we haven't heard it yet this evening is, how many people died defending that flag? And
it's a flag. I mean, it's a flag. It's a cloth. Why is there so much reverence for this piece of cloth?
Because it's been indoctrinated. Because of the brainwashing. That's why there's so much reverence. I mean,
and the sunken cost fallacy, right? So if you have a car that you've spent tens of thousands of dollars in repairs on, you don't want to trade it in and get $1,000 for it because, my God, I've put tens of thousands of dollars into this car.
So you keep putting more money into it.
But here's a surprise for you. The car's worth $1,000. It doesn't matter what you've put into it. That's the sunken cost fallacy. And
how does that apply here?
Well, in this case, you have to look at how many people have died for this flag. And what people will say is, how many people have died for this flag? Well, I don't know that the amount of blood and courage and death and all these things, in fact, matter. Let's take a look at how many people died for the Ottoman Empire.
Right, because a bunch of people died for the United States. Does that mean we should continue to perpetrate the terrible idea of the nation state? I mean, millions of people have died in service of the nation state concept around the world. Remember the Onion article that we read, the parody piece where the guy's claiming he's willing to die for any nation just because of nationalism and the way it makes people feel.
Well, and that's what that's oftentimes what soldiers in this country are asked to do.
Die for other countries?
Die for the nation state. Consider die for other countries. Once mission was what was it?
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished was happening in Iraq. Then all the U.S. soldiers were dying for over there was the preservation of the Iraqi government. That's what they're doing, sadly, in Afghanistan, is the preservation of the Afghani government.
Joe, any other thoughts?
Couldn't agree more. Just one other point. I'm curious how you used the term socialism in a derogatory way towards this situation. I currently identify myself as a socialist, and I'm not seeing the parallel. Now, I think I first would like to define my definition of socialism, and that is just
state ownership of the means of production?
No, not necessarily. But
That's the classic definition.
There's two definitions of socialism.
Hold on, Joe. I want to put you on hold, give you a chance to get your thoughts straight. Jot down your definition. We're going to come back to you. I definitely want to hear, how you feel about socialism. I think that's an interesting tangent to follow. So stand by. We'll come right back to you here in a moment. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Is socialism all it's cracked up to be? It's Free Talk Live.
All right, hold on. We got to interrupt the regularly scheduled stuff for just a minute. I've got to tell you about this because it's weird. It'll make sense. What if I told you that eating this one weird spice could actually help you reverse diabetes? I know, it's crazy, right? Well, if you or somebody you care about has diabetes or pre-diabetes or easy for me to say, metabolic syndrome, you've got to check out this video. It's free. You may have heard about this. People who've tried it say that they've been able to normalize their blood sugar, stop taking their diabetes meds, and their doctors are all for it. So what is it? What's behind this? Well, the company says it's a natural drug-free approach to reversing diabetes, and they say that it works in as little as 4 weeks, and it all starts with this one weird kitchen spice you probably have in your kitchen right now. So you should check out the free video and see for yourself. It's at WeirdSpice55.com. So write that down. It's WeirdSpice55.com. WeirdSpice55.com.
Again, the Congressional Budget Office sounds the alarm. This time warns of Greek-style U.S. debt crises. You heard me right. The GAO is drawing a parallel between the U.S. economy, its debt, and the current Greek economic meltdown. With the debt-to-GDP chart climbing into unfamiliar territory, the growing budget deficit will rise to unsupportable levels. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. The Federal Debt and Risk of Financial Crises document the CBO has published is a must-read for every American, covering the risk of continued deficit spending coupled with an aging population and the rising interest rates spell economic disaster. It's imperative that you get a copy of this document and study it for yourself. Call me today at 800-686-2237 and I'll send you a free copy. Again, call 800-686-2237 and ask for your copy of the CBO document. Once again, you need to read this government report. Call 800-686-2237.
Shortly after being fired from his coding position at a downsizing tech firm, 34-year-old Irvine native Sam Morrison told reporters Monday that he believed he had finally achieved the sort of work-life balance for which he has long strived.
Yeah, ever since I got fired, it just seems like my whole entire routine is just clicking. I go for jogs in the afternoon, spend nights with my wife and kid. I'm even cooking more. Everything just feels right.
Morrison, who since his termination has found time to pick up reading again, eat a healthy diet, and sleep more than 5 hours a night, noted that his unemployment has allowed him to find a level of harmony in his personal life that he never before thought possible.
For a while there, I thought that I was going to spend the rest of my life constantly worrying about getting to the office on time and pleasing my boss. Outside of the late payments on the house, the mounting credit card debt, the rapidly depleting savings, my life is essentially stress-free. I honestly couldn't be happier.
This is the Onion News Network.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com. This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, take control here of this live Saturday edition. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online at freetalklive.com, and you can throw Bitcoin into our tip jar at bitcoin.freetalklive.com. If you have Bitcoin, that is. What's that? You haven't taken the time to go and get Bitcoin yet? Haven't you heard about the new decentralized currency that is taking the world by storm? It's worth $450 some per Bitcoin last I looked.
That's the largest amount per single unit of currency of any currency in the world.
Yeah, now you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. In fact, over at cashintocoins.com, you can buy, if you buy less than $40 worth, there's no transfer fee. If you buy over $40 worth, it's a very small fee. And you can even donate some of the fee to charity at cashintocoins.com. It's easy, safe, fast, legal, inexpensive, and customer service is their top priority. You're going to need a Bitcoin wallet in which to put your Bitcoins. You can get one of those for free at blockchain.info. Once you've got the wallet, go to cashintocoins.com and get your Bitcoins. You can use a money order, check, or wire transfer. And as soon as you have Bitcoins, then there's a world of opportunities that opens to you as far as things you can buy.
I love the fact that you can, if you travel, you don't need to change your Bitcoins out for, I don't have to change my U.S. Bitcoins for Mexican Bitcoins when I go
There are
across
no
the border.
countries with
there
Bitcoin.
Aren't any. It's an international currency. It's the obvious evolution of currency. Currency is a relatively old technology, and we haven't seen too many advances in the technology of currency.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Bitcoin is indicative of the changes, if it isn't in fact the changes.
So go to cashintocoins.com to get yourself some Bitcoins ASAP. All right, we go back to Joe. He's in Madison listening to WXXM, which is the Mike 92.1 progressive talker in Madison. And Joe, you had just gotten onto a pretty big question. You would have brought up socialism because you heard us sort of deriding it a little bit when we were referring to the Pledge of Allegiance writer as a National Socialist, which of course is more of a fascist than anything else. But nonetheless, you did ask a question about socialism, and we had asked you to define socialism. Can you do that?
Yeah, well, I see it as the taking back of the immense wealth that's been accumulated by a tiny majority at the expense of the majority. And you use that to democratically humankind.
I'm sorry, you cut out for about
there for
3 seconds there. To democratically what?
Democratically, serve humankind.
Serving humankind generally means serving the people who are in charge. And what's happened every time with socialist, government or political bodies that have called themselves, or political organizations or parties or whatever that have called themselves socialist is that what they mean is that they know how the means of production and the wealth need to be distributed.
Well, and usually the distribution benefits the party members.
Right. I agree, and I know where you're going with that, and I agree to some extent, except that it doesn't have to be done on such a. It's bringing back democracy to the workplace, and
why not use the word democracy?
Control.
I mean, instead of using the word socialism, which most people, the active definition of the term socialism is state ownership of the means of production, which means that the rich and powerful, because at this point in the history of the world, there have never been the powerful without being the rich, that the rich and powerful will own stuff.
That's a term that those that identify themselves as socialists would not use.
What, democracy?
No.
What's term? State ownership.
The ownership and control of the state ownership and control of industry, which is really, it's like you said, that's fascism.
Well, fascism is government, getting heavily regulating the corporations, essentially owning the government, and the government controlling the corporations. I mean, there will be industry in your socialist paradise, right?
Sure, but
who's going to run it?
The way that the people.
But would you want the people to do brain surgery on you?
Wait.
Do you want everybody to have a democratic vote?
the doctors that do the brain surgery, they can run the hospital, right? Why do you need an executive to make all the decisions about the way that the doctors and the nurses and the cleaning staff
I'd like to say I'm all in favor of cutting out hierarchy. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I think that layers of middle management, there's a lot of problems with that particular organizational structure. I'm not interested in that for my business personally. But at the same time, I'm also not interested in having somebody else tell me what to do, right? So I have this radio show. It's called Free Talk Live. And I've got 140 radio stations. And while I will appreciate the input of all of the program directors of those radio stations, if one of those program directors calls me up and says they like what we said on Saturday night, that's great. If they didn't like it, well, okay, sorry. But, I'm only willing to do so much to make one of those people happy. I wouldn't want those program directors to be able to control the content of this show. I wouldn't want them to be able to tell me that I had to fire Mark or hire somebody else or do anything like that. I want to have the autonomy to make decisions for my business, and I also don't want middle management. I don't want layers of hierarchy. Could I do that under your socialism?
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this. Can I keep my wealth and not give it to you in your form of socialism?
I've been struggling with that question myself. I am not a scholar on the topic by any means, and I honestly, there's different forms. You have your what's the word I'm looking for? Euphoric utopian socialism, where there is no money, right?
Yep.
But
that is not going to work.
That's not happening right now, right?
It's never going to happen.
Joe, let me say this.
A lot of times, here's what I think a lot of times socialism is. A lot of times socialism is fetishistic, rich people hating.
Yeah. Look, we're short on time on this topic, Joe. I would love to discuss this further with you, but there's a load of people who have comments and they want to get on the air. So I want to say thank you for calling tonight and bringing this up. And call us any night of the week to continue
7 to 10. We're on 7 nights a week, Eastern time.
Right. Even though you don't hear us every night of the week in Madison on the mic 92.1 because they only carry our Saturday show, you can still call us Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, any night you want to continue this discussion.
It's a long topic.
It is a very involved topic.
I'll just leave you with this thought that controlling the workplace and laborers having control over the fruits of their labor is essentially the base of my socialism.
I think that worker-owned businesses are a fine idea, but I just don't think they should be forced on existing businesses. And I thank you for the call tonight, Joe, because the problem with socialism, in my observation, just as the problem with fascism, the problems are the power that other human beings have over people. And people shouldn't have that level of power. What people should be able to do is organize on their own with the absence of the state to come together for whatever purpose they want. So if the employees of a company say, hey, we want a stake in this, and they come and they tell the owner that they want a stake, and the owner says, well, screw you, they can say, all right, we're taking our employee business elsewhere.
Taking our labor and going.
In Florida, there's a great grocery store that is employee-owned. It's Publix. They do a great job. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
Mother's Day is right around the corner. If you haven't ordered Mother's Day flowers yet, visit proflowers.com for an amazing deal. Get 100 gorgeous blooms for Mom with a free glass vase for $19.99. Her flowers are guaranteed to stay fresh and beautiful for at least one full week. The only way to get this incredible deal is to go to proflowers.com/radio right now and enter the code PLOW, P-L-O-W. That's proflowers.com/radio and enter code PLOW, P-L-O-W.
If you own a business, you need customers, right? Well, your potential customers are listening to this radio program right now, and I can help you reach them. Hi, I'm Matt Brower, a national marketing executive at the radio network responsible for this program. I can help you customize a national radio campaign that fits your budget, large or small, while targeting your specific audience. Call me to learn how radio advertising can make your business more profitable. 877-996-4327, extension 128. That's 877-996-4327, extension 128.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Imagine for a moment a radio program, the most personal of mediums, that reaches hundreds of thousands of people on more than 140 radio stations across the U.S. and around the world through the internet with podcasts and live streams. Imagine the advertising is affordable from $600 to $6,000 a month. Free Talk Live is that program. We will work with you to get clicks, calls, views, or sales. Email me at mark@freetalklive.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Bring up whatever you want. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Live Saturday edition, where we take your calls about anything that you want to discuss. The we includes me, Ian.
And me, Mark.
And we've got a website as well. You can go to freetalklive.com and enjoy all the features there, including a bunch of archives that go back for years, all free at freetalklive.com. The Free State Project's Porcupine Freedom Festival is coming up in just, 6 weeks? Something like that? It's pretty close. Happening June 22nd through the 29th. I was actually on CJAD radio in Montreal today talking about the Free State Project with one of their Saturday morning hosts. And it's a 50,000-watt AM station on AM 600 in Montreal. It's a monster talk radio station. I was talking about the Free State Project, and I got a chance to plug the Porcupine Freedom Festival at the end. If you can make it to New Hampshire, June 22nd through the 29th, even if it's just for a few of those days, you really need to come up to Lancaster, New Hampshire, to the beautiful Rogers Campground in the White Mountains. It's such splendid scenery and amazing people to be around. Over 1,500 people were there last year. You can expect similar numbers this year, maybe even more. It's always a lot of fun to hang out in the woods and do different activities. If you're if you're a family, there's family stuff going on. There's parties. There's all kinds of fun. Of course, then just hanging around campfires and things like that. Go to porcfest.com. porcfest.com. You know about the Free State Project yet? It's the idea of bringing liberty-loving people all to the same geographic area. People who understand what socialism is and why it's a bad idea. Bringing those people, and why fascism is a bad idea too, and why government and the state in general are dangers, threats to freedom. If you get freedom, you get liberty, this is the place for you. The Porcupine Freedom Festival. It's an amazing experience. You're going to love it. And we're going to be there, by the way, broadcasting live So you'll get to experience Free Talk Live as well as some other great liberty-oriented shows in person at PorcFest, PORCFEST.com.
I think there'll probably be some people there that call themselves libertarian socialists.
There may very well be. As a matter of fact, they're the well, anyway, let's go on to your phone calls, your thoughts. We go first to, I believe we got Michael in Huntsville listening to WBHP. Hello, Michael.
Oh, hello there.
Hey.
Yeah, when I did the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, I was just, of course, a kid then. The way we did it back in them days, though, was we put our hands over our hearts. No salute stuff, just hands over the hearts. But the way we had it explained by our pastor, though, to church, was it's not really pledging allegiance to the flag because that violates 2 commandments about idol worship and all, in the Bible. It's what the pledge stands for and what it says in it. That's what we were doing, like loyalty and everything to the country, because almost all the adults back in them days were all World War II veterans or World War I, the mixture in here. The main employer was a GM plant, because this is Detroit, because that's my hometown, like that. But that's the way I understood it back then, just growing up as hand over the heart, and then, like I say, no idol worship stuff, flag thing, just the other thing. That's the way I grew up.
Well,
anyway.
Just because someone tells you it's not idol worship doesn't mean it's not idol worship.
I don't know whether it is or not, but I mean, some pastors come to different conclusions.
Thanks for the call tonight, Michael. It sounds to me like a prayer to an inanimate object. I mean, you're reciting verse towards this thing. I mean, if it were a golden statue of a cow, would that make it more obvious that it was idol worship?
I think that, to me, it's a loyalty oath, and I wonder why. I mean, so we have the greatest country in the world, right?
So we're told and over again. It must be true.
Why do you need a loyalty oath for the greatest country in the world?
That's a good question. And here's another.
I don't have to reinstate my marriage vows to my wife every morning in order for them to be true.
Well, here's another question about the oath part of this. You're pledging allegiance, and as we've discussed many times, the word citizen is somebody who has a duty of allegiance in return for an obligation of protection, meaning that you pledge your allegiance, and the government is supposed to protect you in return for that. But yet we know from the Supreme Court cases, multiple Supreme Court cases, the government has made it clear they don't have any obligation to protect you. So where's their pledge back? I mean, you're pledging your allegiance to them. Shouldn't they be pledging their protection to you? The fact that they don't should make it obvious what's going on here. It's a one-sided deal. You give them your allegiance, you do everything they tell you, you pay everything they tell you to pay, and then they screw you whenever they damn well feel like it. Let's keep going here. We've got Victor in Tennessee listening to WHUB, The Hub. Hey, Victor.
Hey, how you guys doing? How's that weather treating you up there in the Free State Project?
Beautiful right now. Go ahead with your thoughts tonight.
Awesome. All right, well, I can say that I have never once ever pledged allegiance. I'm 50 years old.
Wow.
And I've never once pledged allegiance to a flag.
How did you avoid that?
And, well, I grew up in Montana up on the High Line up in Cut Bank, and my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and so, as a small child, I was just taught why it was, just wrong to, voluntarily become a slave, to a nation state. So, and, so I just never did it, but, always ridiculed growing up because they did pledge allegiance. I mean, you always had a homeroom, even right up through the 10th grade. When I dropped out, there were, you had your homeroom, and they would pledge allegiance.
And did you get any pushback for not participating?
Oh, yeah, constantly.
What kind of pushback? What happened?
Bullying, constantly in fights, just because but, I was taught by my parents that you need to stand up for, your rights. And
well,
really,
in this case, sit down.
More constitutional stuff. But anyway, so that's very interesting. But the other thing that I wanted to say is that nowadays, people don't do the Pledge of Allegiance. They don't have to anymore. They've already been conditioned. They've had generations before them that are conditioned. And, now it's just like, you just have this automatic allegiance to symbols and flags. And but most people now, they wouldn't know the Pledge of Allegiance if it crawled up there. What?
I disagree.
But they do know about football teams. No. They know about baseball teams.
It's still very prevalent, Victor. The Pledge of Allegiance, and I agree with you that certainly people are distracted by the bread and circuses, as you're referring to the sports teams, but the Pledge of Allegiance is still very prevalent. It's still in all the government schools, from what I can tell, and I thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Just quick, some comments here from our Facebook page. I want to sneak these in. I had asked the question earlier about an hour ago, do you have any personal experiences with refusing to say the pledge? Share your story here. Jackie Feast says, I had people throw ice and popcorn at me at a WWE event when I wouldn't stand for the national anthem. Bob Robertson says, my daughter is in kindergarten and into first grade, she would just stand there and say la 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 la. She got caught. The teacher stopped the entire class and made her say it by herself, loud enough to be heard, and was checked after that to be sure.
Well, now we're talking about a 6-year-old here, so it's difficult to, and I have a 6-year-old, and it's difficult to say, well, what a 6-year-old should and shouldn't do. But you can't tell me this isn't indoctrination, right? Okay, sure. Now, Sally, you're going to have to say it on your own. You were interrupting everybody, and you're going to have to say it on your own. But who among us has not changed the words or slipped up while saying the pledge, or just said something, done something different? I used to kind of switch the words around when I was doing it, just to I don't know what. I used to pledge to the USSR. I didn't know what the USSR was. It was just something on a map, and I just didn't like the idea of pledging to the United States. There was this is you saying that makes my skin crawl. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you know what, Mark? I never liked school spirit either. I never liked that. You're just a sort of a natural, anti-authoritarian. I swear to you, man, I don't know where I picked it up or when or how, but I think it's because your parents didn't spank you. As long back as I can remember. More on the way here in moments. You can share your thoughts on the pledge or whatever's on your mind on Free Talk Live. Stop harming your body with coffee from grocery stores or most chains. Start making a difference, 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer you a free pound of BuzzBox coffee. It's organic, so no harmful pesticides or toxins. Shade-grown, meaning less acidity and no heartburn. Try the best of the best for free. Just cover shipping. 10% of future purchases go toward helping us give the gift of human freedom around the globe with at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
If you've got aches and pain and soreness, it could be chronic inflammation. Listen to Dave talk about Relief Factor 4.
I was in a sawmill accident and suffered with pain and discomfort for 60 years. I heard about Relief Factor 4 and decided to order it. And in 4 days, I was walking without a limp and without pain. I am thrilled.
For more information or to order Relief Factor 4, go online at ReliefFactor4.com. That's ReliefFactor4.com.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live Saturday edition of the show. Take control of these airwaves toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Something you can do if you like what we're doing on Free Talk Live. And you don't even have to get up. If you're sitting in front of a computer, you don't even have to get up. You can just go to shop.freetalklive.com. And let's say you've been thinking about buying something. There's maybe a product you've been researching and you've been considering it, but you haven't pulled the trigger yet. Well, if you were planning on buying from Amazon, you can get your product that you've been looking to buy at the same great Amazon price, the same free Super Saver shipping, or whatever shipping deal you're going to get. The same great reviews, the same everything. It's just you can enter through our affiliate link at shop.freetalklive.com. And there's Amazon US, Amazon Canada, and Amazon UK. You enter through our affiliate link, and Free Talk Live gets a cut of the sale. Makes a big difference for us when you do this, and you're getting the same deals you're used to. It's just that Amazon is sending us a little bit of their profit, so they thank us for sending them the business. So please take a moment when you're ready to shop online and start your shopping through shop.freetalklive.com as we go here, continuing with your calls and thoughts. Vince is listening in Livingston, Montana. It says here you're listening to KPRK, but I would think you're listening to KMMS, which is its sister station. Are you there in the Bozeman? It's Bozeman, right? Bozeman area? Vince?
I'm in the Livingston area, but
Okay.
they're basically they simulcast.
Oh, they do? Okay. You're right about that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think you guys have stumbled onto a really important topic that's going to fuel a lot of good discussion, hopefully among the kids. I haven't said the pledge since back in the early 70s when I was a Marine in Vietnam. I became aware that it was a pledge of fealty and not a pledge of allegiance. And as I grew more aware later on, it was a pledge to a flag, and I learned about the gold fringe on the flag, and I was pledging to a corporation. I mean, my awareness has just grown over the years. So I've avoided it, and I'd like to give people some strategies if you want to avoid it. Sure. Number one, if you go to a place where the pledge is going to be said, take your hat off long before you go in so you don't have to be caught in the uncomfortable position of having to take your flag off or take your hat off for the flag.
That's a good one.
If there's always a restroom around. You can always excuse yourself if you're going to make the people around you uncomfortable by not saying it, by not putting your hand over your heart, by not giving it standing, by rising. Just leave and go to the restroom and come back, when it's over. I don't even sing the national anthem, not because of what it says, but because it's a horrible song and it ruined a perfectly good drinking song. In fact, if I'm
this is true. The national anthem, for folks that don't know, is taken from a British drinking song. And I agree. I think the America the Beautiful is a better song.
Those are good tactics, by the way.
Yeah,
I won't. Go ahead.
Well, if I'm real comfortable around a bunch of friends that know me, I'll start singing To Anacreon in Heaven when they strike up the national anthem, and that always gets a good laugh, But I know the lyrics. I like the song. I like the original drinking song, especially after a lot of drinks. It's a good song, but I think the national anthem celebrates a defeat at the hands of the British when we were reconquered after the days of Confederation and the first days of the Constitution. This song celebrates the burning of the White House and the Capitol and the destruction of the original documents. I don't see anything to celebrate there.
Well, while I understand why somebody would want to avoid, like in your case, you don't want to do the pledge, but you also don't want to be seen not doing the pledge because of how people might feel about it. We had one lady say she had things thrown at her at a WWE event for not standing for the national anthem. So I can understand why somebody would want to avoid that. But it ultimately, I think, asks the question, well, if people become disenchanted with the pledge and decide they don't want to say it and they don't respect the idea and they understand that it's indoctrination and worship, to worship the state, etc., at what point do people stop standing in public? Because if everybody's too afraid to stop standing in public, then everybody will keep going along with this until further notice. And so I will go ahead and continue to stay seated for all pledges and things like that. I'm not interested in that.
It's really uncomfortable, I've got to say. I don't rise for judges. I don't stand for the pledge. I don't play these government games. And
that's because you're aware of what standing means. When you stand, you're giving someone standing. You're giving them authority. You're giving them recognition.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree with that necessarily. I think that sometimes you have to stand under duress. For instance, if you're in a court, the judge will throw you in a cage if you don't stand up. It's not that you want to give him any authority.
That's because he refuses to give you. You're giving him standing at the time.
Have you ever actually tried any of these legal theories in court?
Yes, I actually have.
Really?
I've actually seen it done. The Ernie Tertelget case up here in Bozeman, Montana. You can look it up online.
Was that the guy with the big old beard?
Is this the fishing guy or the hunting license or whatever?
You betcha.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and he refuses to give standing in court. And yes, he got tossed in jail for 30 days. You should have him on your show sometime.
Whether I agree or not with his theories, the man is brave. Just brave.
Well, right. So tell me more then. He got thrown in jail for not standing for a judge. Was that a contempt of court charge, I take it?
Well, basically, he got thrown in jail for fishing without a license, but he was fishing under the terms of the 1855 Hellgate Treaty, which says that the Indians are allowed to fish in all this territory in common with the citizens of the territory. In other words, the treaty gave rights to both the Indians and the citizens to fish.
I don't doubt that he had, that he had good standing from his arguments as far as why he was doing what he is doing, and I certainly support his right to fish and feed himself and his family or whoever he damn well wants to feed. All that aside, I'm just curious about the in-court stuff. So he went to jail because he was found guilty on the charge, not because he refused to stand for a judge?
No, he went to jail on a contempt charge 30 days because he refused to remove his tri-corner hat and he refused to stand for the judge.
Right. And so the next time he came into the court, they had probably taken his tri-corner hat, so he did not at that point have the ability to not remove it, correct?
Well, after 30 days in jail, he didn't wear his hat in. Yes, they had basically taken his hat beforehand because he came out of jail, and it was probably a video conference type of thing.
I salute that level of courage.
Highly embarrassing, and now the judge has recused himself, and there's no trial scheduled, and they realize that they've opened a can of worms now.
I love it. I wish we had more people trying that stuff in court, because my experience of trying various legal theories is absolute abject failure. But, some of it's very interesting. And the problem with a lot of these folks is they don't ever record it, so you never get to see any evidence of what they actually said in court.
There's good video of this.
And what actually transpired in court. And, yeah, we did talk about this case.
There's lots of video. We took a lot of video of Ernie in court.
That's great.
I mean, it's all right there on YouTube. TERTELGTE.
I think it's really brave, and I want to encourage people to be courageous, but at the same time, I don't blame somebody who's threatened by a man in a robe with violence for going ahead and standing for that man in the robe. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, that's why a lot of people stand.
I perfectly understand.
It's because they're under duress. And, Ernie went to jail. I mean, he proved the point. If you don't do what the man in the robe says, he has men with guns who will force you out of your chair. I mean, I've seen people here in Keene, by the way. We've got a lot of people who've
got 90 days for this stuff.
Right. I got multiple contempt charges. We've got people here in Keene who have refused to stand for judges, and they'll just force them into a wheelchair and push them around. I mean, they'll do whatever they want. They'll get enough men on you, and they can manipulate you in whatever way they want to, and they will make their point because they're a violent group of people. Vince, I thank you for the call. I appreciate hearing from you tonight. But I support the idea of not standing for a judge when you're a defendant. I don't stand for judges when I'm in the audience. That is pretty easy to do, but they tend to take more of an issue with it when you are the defendant. When you're up there in front of them, you have their full attention, and they will, in a lot of cases, they will demand that you stand for them.
Well, in that circumstance, it's important to them to. You're there in the front of the room.
All eyes are on the scene.
They want you to look like you have you're participating in this whole process,
playing their game.
And that's all the gentleman's saying is when he says you give them standing is by standing you do in fact give them standing.
But it's not voluntary, at least not on my part. It's under duress, in which case that shouldn't give them standing. But the point is,
nobody believes it's voluntary.
My point is, if you don't stand, they're going to stand on you anyway. If you don't stand for the man in the robe, they will force their way on you. And it doesn't matter if you consent or not. The idea of this, you give them standing, suggests that by standing, you're telling them you consent to whatever they do to you.
It suggests that if you don't stand, that you don't give them standing.
But they'll do it anyway.
But in fact, they have whatever standing. The standing that matters to them is in their own mind.
It's true. We'll come back here. Coming up in hour number 3, we've got loaded phones. So be patient. If you're on the line, we're going to get to you here. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control here on Free Talk Live.
There's a treasure hunt going on at mathgate.info, a Bitcoin treasure hunt. You can find Bitcoins by proving theorems. So, learn some logic, do some math, find some Bitcoins. Even better, mathgate.info is designed to be used anonymously. So, connect to mathgate.info through Tor, prove some theorems, find some anonymous Bitcoins. Don't wait, others are already searching for the Bitcoins. Go to mathgate.info today and join the treasure hunt. There are anonymous Bitcoins to be had for the taking at mathgate.info. What if humans found a habitable planet, set up housekeeping, and then got left alone by Earth and its big government? Well, that happened in Freehold, Michael Z. Williamson's seminal work. Now available for the first time in a signed, limited hardback edition. Other books in this series are also available in paperback. I cannot recommend a modern fiction work more highly than Freehold. Earth might have left Freehold alone, but it doesn't stay that way. It's war. Get your copy right now at all major booksellers and shop.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Pure Life Water, helping you drink better and live better by providing a zero-calorie alternative to sugary drinks. Visit us at nestle-purelife.us. When kids are playing, they often don't want to stop to keep hydrated, so send them out with a bottle of water and encourage them to take frequent drink breaks, or call them inside for a quick sip. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Friday, May 9th, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,292. Silver opened at $19.16, and Bitcoin is trading at $446.12. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from Voice and Exit, maximizing human flourishing through radical innovation. Tickets on sale now. Get 10% off with promo code FREEDOM, June 21st at Austin Music Hall. Get yours at voiceandexit.com. Support also comes from Dorothy Erminger at Capstar Lending. For your residential mortgage needs, call Dorothy, 512-343-6494, or apply online, call dorothy.com, NMLS 216624. In the news, we told you yesterday about the transformation of GrowYourOwnGroceries.org founder Marjorie Wildcraft, from professional investor into a self-sustainability expert.
This is so much more fulfilling and so much more meaningful. I mean, you just can't beat it.
Growing, preparing, and preserving food and medicine for herself and her family, the Austin-based Wildcraft is now sharing her expertise through an 8-week online course.
We're creating online expeditions. The home medicine expedition is 8 weeks, so once a week there's a module, a section that you take. We show you how to treat like 90% of the stuff that's going to come up in your family. It's the stuff that our grandmothers used to know how to do without even thinking about it. Coughs and fevers and headaches and anxiety and wounds. How do you treat that stuff with very simple things that you probably already have around the house or that you could grow really easily on a windowsill or in your herb garden?
Future lessons will include easy, efficient gardening and weather forecasting. Wildcraft says one of her goals is to keep the courses affordable for everyone, charging $9.95 a month. Signing up can be done online at growyourowngroceries.org. An analysis by the Senate Budget Committee reveals that although 8 million people have been added to the working age population since 2007, total employment has declined by 500,000. Jeff Sessions of the Senate Budget Committee said more and more people are leaving the workforce entirely. There are 58 million working age people who aren't working. The labor force participating rate is standing at 63%, the lowest in 36 years. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from My Magic Mud, all-natural teeth whitener. Go to mymagicmud.com to hear a short interview with Dr. Griffin Cole. That's mymagicmud.com. And support comes from Brave New Books, now offering Pro Pure Water Filtration, the only gravity-driven all-in-one fluoride removal system that also alkalizes. Find them in Austin, 1904 Guadalupe Street, or online, bravenewbookstore.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, May 9th, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. Should welfare money be used for the purchase of firearms? A Democratic New Hampshire representative thinks so, taking his argument to the State House floor this week. Breitbart.com reports that Timothy Horrigan of Durham spoke out Tuesday against Senate Bill 30, which would include firearms among the items banned for purchase through the use of EBT cards.
The firearms ban is a blatant violation of the Second Amendment. Cash benefits recipients presumably have the same rights as the rest of us to purchase guns for hunting, sports shooting, or even self-defense.
The bill also expands restrictions of EBT purchases to include tobacco, alcohol, gambling, adult entertainment, tattoos, and piercings. Community outrage regarding police abuse in Albuquerque, New Mexico continues to fester, with protesters again descending on Thursday's city council meeting. The council has implemented new rules and heightened security after protesters all but took over Monday's regular meeting of the council, chanting for the ouster of the police chief while attempting to issue a people's arrest warrant on him. The Santa Fe New Mexican reports that several protesters Thursday showed their frustration by refusing to talk while standing at the podium, backs turned to the council. They were escorted out, while other protesters received citations for criminal trespass. The number of those cited is not immediately known. 5 injuries confirmed after Thai police fired water cannons and tear gas at opposition protesters attempting to topple the government. The Indian Express reports that the People's Democratic Reform Committee has launched what's being called an all-out final battle in their attempted overthrow. The move comes as the Constitutional Court Wednesday ordered Yingluck Shinawatra to step down as premier. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Mass Appeal, affordable, high-quality printing, now accepting Bitcoin, online at massappealinc.com. And support comes from growyourowngroceries.org, homegrown food on every table. That's growyourowngroceries.org. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, May 9th, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan, reporting.
This is the Onion Week in Review. In a landmark 5-4 decision issued this Wednesday, the Supreme Court ruled to allow Americans to cram cash directly into politicians' mouths. The ruling, which effectively eradicates former prohibitions against stuffing checks and stacks of $100 bills straight down the throats, ears, and other orifices of presidential and congressional candidates, is expected to fundamentally alter the ways American politicians have large quantities of money shoved right into their bodies.
In football music news this week, the 1985 Chicago Bears reunite to record their first new material since the Super Bowl Shuffle. The group says the new material will be darker and more introspective than its Shuffle-era work.
And in this week's op-ed pages, a man asks why, if God exists, doesn't he throw us like a really sweet party? In other news, an increasing number of men feel pressure to accept realistic standards of female beauty. FedEx confirms that more than 600,000 people try to mail themselves each year. And a recovering alcoholic doesn't need friends to have a good time.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. It's hour number 3. That's what we're kicking off right now on this live Saturday edition. Hey, did you know we do the show 7 nights a week? We do have a live Sunday edition as well. So if you don't get your thoughts in here tonight, phones have been blowing up last several segments. People want to talk about the Pledge of Allegiance and other things. You can also bring up whatever's on your mind here. 'Tis the point of Free Talk Live. With you tonight, Ian here.
And Mark.
Inviting you to our website, freetalklive.com. You go there and you can actually interact with other Free Talk Live listeners in a few different ways. There's our bulletin board system, but the primary way is the front page of the website. You can create the content there. You can vote on what's already there. So if you like something, you vote it up. If you don't like something, you may vote it down. You can also add a piece of content to our website. So maybe there's a news story that you want us to talk about on the radio, but you don't really want to call in about it. You can just submit the content right there to the front page of the website. It then becomes subject to voting as well. We do it with the Reddit system, so you do need to have a free Reddit account. You need a free Free Talk Live account. You'll link the two accounts together in a very short, simple process, and then you're good to go. It makes it easy to use our site at freetalklive.com. We will go back to the phones here, but just to set the table for the hour, for those of you just tuning in, the main topic tonight has been a young man in Texas who has refused to stand for the pledge and say the pledge. He's been suspended, in school suspension, and we never really got the chance to get him to say his piece. Maybe you quoted one of his quotes, Mark, but I don't really recall.
Yeah, he's had a couple of quotes in what I read.
Well, then if there's more, we'll try to sneak something in here, but ultimately we're going to your phone calls.
He says he's angry and frustrated and annoyed that they would write him up and give him in-school suspension for something that he had a right to do. He says, I think it's time that people do something for themselves and stop taking whatever's handed to them.
I totally agree with him. The guy's brave, and he should be commended for this. I don't know where he's going to go with it from here. He's been in trouble with it once. Are they going to continue punishing him? Is he going to continue not saying the pledge? My understanding, he has the resolve to not continue, or to continue staying seated, I guess. Is that your understanding of the situation?
That seems to be it, yeah.
So, his back's up against the wall, but what's he going to do?
I don't know why he would continue to go to a school where he continues to be in
He's forced to.
No.
Students are forced to go to government school.
You can choose to be homeschooled.
You can't choose that if that's not what your parents want.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, then your question should be, I don't know why his parents continue to send him to this government school.
I don't know why his parents obviously wouldn't care very much about his education if, they're going to let him just sit and...
keep getting suspended?
Yeah, keep getting in-school suspension.
I agree. The best thing you can do if you've got kids in a government school is get them out of the government school, bring them home for unschooling. I think unschooling is the most exciting educational method, but different people learn differently, so maybe a curriculum-based thing would be more appropriate for some students, etc. But that's another topic. Let's go back to you with your thoughts here and talk to Sean in Montana. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Welcome, sir. Great.
Hey, I just wanted to relate to you a somewhat humorous, I guess to me, story about not saying the pledge.
Please.
It was back like in 2007. I started kind of getting back interested in politics since Ron Paul was running, and I started doing some studying, and I just didn't like the whole one nation, indivisible concept. Mm-hmm. That sort of nullifies states' rights, and I'd be a hypocrite to say I believe in states' rights and then stand there and say one nation, indivisible.
Yep.
So
I don't believe in states' rights.
I went to this, Anyway, at that point I did. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
And,
Right. Just to add one more thought. Only people have rights. States are just ideas. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So I went to this rather large function. I would say over 500 people at this event. And they had never said the pledge at these events before. And suddenly that night they did. Well, I remained seated. The lady sitting next to me, my friends that came with me, they all knew I was going to do this, so they weren't shocked in the least. But the lady sitting next to me, and I can feel it from behind as well, just that look of death, you know. If looks could kill, I'd be dead type of thing.
Did you get a gasp, too? Sometimes you get a gasp.
I'm not sure if she gasped or not. She might have. It was interesting that I sat there, and at the end, when it was quiet, I said, "It's not the under God that I disagree with, just so you know." Because usually that's what everybody assumes.
Right.
And I said, "It's not the under God. I could care less about that part." And I left it at that. Didn't want to get in a big fight with the lady, you know. The guest speaker of the evening, happened to be Chuck Baldwin.
That's the Constitution Party guy, right?
Right.
Okay.
He comes up right after the pledge. He's like the speaker of the evening, and he gets on stage. The first words out of his mouth is, "That pledge needs to be changed. We are not one nation. We're a confederated republic." And I just looked at the lady. Here's the guy you came to see. Saying the same thing is why I didn't rise.
I thought, I hosted, I emceed a 10th Amendment Center event here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it was hilarious. One of the occupants, one of the attendees wanted me to do a Pledge of Allegiance at a 10th Amendment Center meeting about nullifying the federal government. I'm like, really?
Yeah, exactly. It's very similar. Very similar.
Sean, thanks for sharing your story. Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I just wanted to relate that to you guys, just to let you know there's more of us out here that are going down these roads.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the call tonight, Sean.
All right.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Dave. He's in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live. Dave.
Hey, guys. Great show. I really wanted to talk about citizen grand juries, but while, sitting here on hold listening, I never really thought about, I always said the pledge as a kid in elementary school. I don't remember it going any farther than that. I never really thought about it. I guess I was just a dumbed-down, mind-controlled lab rat, as my brother likes to say. But what do you guys think of citizen grand juries? You think they can work?
No. I think that the idea here is that grand juries are they're supposed to be. The grand juries historically have been citizen or run by the people, and that they can bring charges against the government. They can demand they can have evidence presented by other individuals. They can demand evidence from the community. But in function, what we have today is a grand jury system that is essentially run by the prosecutors.
It's a glorified rubber stamp.
Yeah, no information gets to the grand jury that does not go through the prosecutor. And when you control the information, you control the organization. And I don't see how.
But what's the proposal, Dave, as to how something like that would be formed? Are you talking about creating it separate from the state, or how would you go about that?
Well, I've been approached by some folks that are, I guess they're already seated here in Michigan. My problem is I'm legally blind, and they're going to do it all on computer, and I'm not really computerized at the moment, and I just know that I have to do something because we're in trouble. And if we let, this system continue the way it is, it's going to come to a crashing halt anyway. But what happens after? We got to do something. And I know I've heard you say, Ian, don't pay taxes and all that, but does that really matter? They print the money.
No, you're right, and that's why it doesn't matter to the federal government if you don't pay taxes. But it does matter to the individual because it could increase the amount of money that you have to spend on your friends and family and give away to charities and things like that. So it's an improvement to your life and your freedom. But I want you to tell me more about the idea of grand jury. What do you want to see happen? You said you've been contacted by people who are impaneled on a grand jury. What are they asking you? I mean, what's the purpose of their contact?
They're not really impaneled, but they are trying to put together, citizens, people, just regular people, and they don't really call themselves citizens, but it is called a citizen grand jury. But if you're not, deliberating, you're just an assembly. But they want us to come together, and they want us to start hearing cases. They want to go after the judicial system. They want to go after the bar. And they want to go after politicians.
Okay, so this is a step. This is a step beyond what even I was talking about. I was talking about people that were seated on what would be considered a legitimate grand jury, not putting together their own grand jury.
Yeah, see, I knew you were jumping to a conclusion
the
there.
Federal, Mark. The government is liable to consider you people terrorists.
Well, yeah,
is what their thought process is.
I think this is fascinating. I want to bring you back here, Dave, for a moment because there's a related story, and I want to get your comment on this. Remember the Albuquerque situation, where it's continually developing? The police there are murdering homeless people, and
the feds are coming after them.
There's a situation where a people's arrest warrant has been issued for the police chief, and we'll look into that. It's Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to begin? Do you fear your job is in jeopardy, or is your business income reduction keeping you awake at night? We're in the best time in 25 years to make a fortune in real estate without using your money or credit. My name is Ron LeGrand, and I've taught 500,000 people to do just that and personally bought hundreds of houses myself. If you'll call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and leave your information, I'll send you the first 500 callers my hot new CD, Foreclosure Fortunes, and my best-selling book to help you get started absolutely free. I'll show you how to build a six-figure income part-time with no previous experience and no license, even if you're a busy professional. Call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and get my new book and CD free. That's 800-970-6156. Take your life back and make this your best year ever. Call 800-970-6156 now.
This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
Farmers keep livestock lean and healthy with a mineral-rich diet. Then, before market, they cut off minerals, leaving them to crave high-calorie grains. If weight control is this easy, why prescribe surgery for humans? Introducing Youngevity. You could avoid 900 diseases by getting 90 essential nutrients from Youngevity. Check out 90 for Life at tobeyoungagain.com or call 855-79-YOUNG. That's 855-79-YOUNG or tobeyoungagain.com. Youngevity. It's all about saving money, getting healthy, and creating wealth.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers? flyers and sours too. Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Take control here toll free on the live Saturday edition, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Inviting you to our website. The features there are free. Those other talk show hosts in the business, they want to charge you for their sites. We give it away. So enjoy. freetalklive.com.
Blockchain.info has done it again. Now, if you have a physical business, you can go to blockchain.com. Now, blockchain.info is the largest Bitcoin website on the internet, from what I can tell. They have implemented a free app for businesses. So if you've got a physical business, go to blockchain.com, use their new app on your smartphone or tablet or whatever, and you can begin to accept Bitcoins into your business without any cost, no terms of service, or no ID requirements of any kind. Imagine this for a second. Blockchain is offering you a way to take Bitcoins in your business. Compare this to credit card companies. What credit card company is offering you a free service with no ID requirements and no terms of service? Not one. That's the answer. So go to blockchain.com, download the app from the Google Play Store, get started, start accepting Bitcoins. A way to get paid without having to pay any transfer fees at all, without having the credit card companies hold your money for 30 days. You don't have to worry about that with Bitcoins. It's blockchain.com.
All right, we're back with Dave in Michigan. He called in about this idea of putting together grand juries sort of outside of the system, because actually having an influence on an existing grand jury is a very difficult thing to do. Whether or not, even if you could reach grand jury members, whether or not they would know how or know if they could or could bring up whatever issues against the politicians or bureaucrats. Because the idea behind taking control of a grand jury for the purpose of doing good things, as opposed to just indicting somebody for a heroin charge, which is apparently what they've been doing here in Keene, New Hampshire. There was grand jury returned 4 or 5 indictments recently, and only one of them was for an actual violent crime. The rest of them were for heroin. But if you wanted to get into a grand jury and try to influence the idea that, hey, look at all this evidence of malfeasance by government bureaucracy, you could bring charges, grand jury, against these government bureaucrats. It would be very, very difficult to promote those ideas within the system. So Dave's saying create your own grand jury, and my response...
He's saying that some friends are doing that.
Well, right. That's what the proposal is that people would create their own grand juries. And what would the idea be that you'd be handing out indictments, inviting, subpoenaing people to your own private court? I mean, the people in the state are going to look at that and they're going to laugh and ignore it, right? Like, what do you expect to see happen? What do you plan to do with the grand jury, and what do you think's realistic to see happen?
Well, I really don't have all those details yet. That's why I was calling you guys to see if you had heard anything about this. I've heard a couple of guys on some shows in the past talking about similar ideas, but I really don't have the way to research this because, like I said, I'm not really computerized.
You're blind
yet,
as well. So
right.
Let me give you my assessment of this as somebody who, I've been aware of a number of the conspiracy kind of patriot movement things out there, and I'm very skeptical of a lot of this stuff. It seems to me that if you were to take this seriously and create a grand jury and come down with an indictment against, let's say, the sheriff, you got a corrupt sheriff, he's selling drugs or whatever it is he's doing. You've come down with an indictment against the sheriff, you serve it on him, and either he just laughs, or he arrests you for assaulting him touching him with a piece of paper, or if you actually try to arrest him, then you'll be arrested for kidnapping in that particular case, because, as you said, Mark, they're going to see this as a competing gang. They're going to see you as a criminal agency, and they're going to do everything they can to put a stop to this. Right now in Albuquerque, there's a situation that's continuing to develop. They have had 39 police shootings in that city since 2010. The story at allvoices.com. This week, Albuquerque City Council last week. It was last Thursday. And that's because the people in Albuquerque are livid about the fact that the police are shooting and murdering innocent, peaceful people there in town. So the protesters have been showing up in the council chambers and basically kind of taking over the meetings to some extent in fairly large numbers. Apparently, at certain points, the protesters would they've got like the 2-minute thing where you can get up and you can just kind of talk to the city council for 2 minutes. Apparently, some stood at the podium for their allotted 2 minutes with a fist raised high in the air. They were protesting in whatever ways they could. But one of the things they did was they came up with a people's arrest warrant, which they wanted to serve on the police chief. They were demanding that he be ousted from police chief position. They were unable to actually serve it upon the chief because apparently he and most of the council members fled the meeting amid shouts, sign waving, and generally so-called disruptive behavior from the audience. But either way, what are they going to do when they serve this arrest warrant on him? They're not going to put him in handcuffs and take him away in their own cruiser. That would be considered kidnapping.
Ultimately, that's what an arrest has to be backed up with. It has to be backed up with violence.
Otherwise, it's just street theater.
Right. So, I mean, and this is really the difficulty in, essentially creating a competing government and attempting to enforce that government on other folks. I
don't think it's the right path. It's going to get you in some real hot water, and I fully support doing things of a disobedient and courageous nature, but using aggression in return to the state is not going to solve your problem.
I'm not sure this is aggression. In many cases, you're talking
about... It'll be
about
seen as that.
Corrupt officials, and this is essentially retaliatory force.
It'll be seen as aggression. It'll be seen as kidnapping, and you'll be charged with kidnapping, and they will come after you. And thank you, Dave, for your call tonight. And when they come after you, you'll be lucky if you survive the encounter. Police shooting frenzy raises concerns. I just want to throw this one out. It's real quick. In Miami on December 10th, more than 24 police officers from across Miami converged on a blue Volvo that had crashed in the backyard of a townhouse. As the car was wedged helplessly between a light pole and tree, nearly a minute passed before the officers opened up, firing approximately 50 bullets at the car and the 2 unarmed men inside the vehicle. The 2 men inside the car survived the initial volley of gunfire, according to witnesses who said they could still see the men moving inside the Volvo. Everything went quiet for nearly 2 minutes before the officers opened up a second time, unleashing an unrelenting torrent of bullets that lasted almost 25 seconds. By the time it was over, the 2 men in the inside of the car were dead. Total of 23 officers fired a total of at least 377 rounds. Bullets were sprayed everywhere. They hit the Volvo, other cars in the lot, fence posts, and neighboring businesses. They blasted holes in a townhouse where a 12-year-old dove to the ground for cover, and a 4-month-old slept in his crib. It was like the wild, wild west, man. Crazy, said one man who barely made it through his back door of his house before the gunfire erupted. Just shooting wild, shooting all over the place. Bullets could have come through the window. Anything could have happened. They weren't thinking. They weren't thinking at all. Why do you think the police fired 377 rounds at 2 men in a car who weren't even shooting at them at the time?
Bank robbers.
No, actually, they did. There was a robbery involved, but the average robber's not going to get that kind of thing happening to him. Turns out, after robbing a Walgreens at gunpoint, the driver of the Volvo shot a Miami-Dade police officer in a nearby trailer park. And so the entirety of whoever it was that was on the Miami police squadron at that time came out and emptied every single bullet they had in their magazines into this
Remember when
man's
the Chris
corpse.
Dorner thing went on out in California? They were shooting up people's cars that had nothing to do with it.
Yep, we'll come back with more here in moments. Free Talk Live.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency, and Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available right now. Learn it, use it, and spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is the Free Talk Live Saturday edition. We will take your calls about what you would like. Just dial in toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That toll-free number is brought to you by Pro XPN, and we continue taking more of your calls here in moments. Also, we've got Skype. You can Skype into the show at username LRN, LRN.FM.
You've probably heard of shinybadges.com if you've been listening to Free Talk Live any length of time. They've got that really great jingle. But if you haven't been to Shiny Badges recently, you should go check out the new Causes tab, because every item there includes a donation to a worthy liberty project. So, for instance, the Silk Road pin, which is this sort of bluish-greenish camel and a rider, it donates to the Ross Ulbricht Legal Defense Fund. The Bitcoin Not Bombs hoodie donates to the Bitcoin Not Bombs Hoodie the Homeless campaign 2014. The Anonymous pen donates to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. The Anti-War pen votes to antiwar.com. So if you believe in these projects, consider getting some really great jewelry and supporting the organizations that you cherish. And you get a free gift if you pay with Bitcoin. So it is shinybadges.com.
Okay, let's go to the phones and to your calls and thoughts about whatever's on your mind. Aaron has been waiting patiently on Skype in Delaware. Aaron, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark.
Hey, Ian and Mark.
Hey.
Actually, this has been a wonderful evening. I've been on for 45 minutes and heard some great things.
Excellent.
I've cycled through a few things, and I want to take issue with something you said the other night, Mark. It's not going into the past, but the agorism thing. You had said that you didn't believe agorism worked because the majority of the world was agoristic in its trading.
Right. Let me restate it for you, for folks. It's I think it's called System D, by the way. I couldn't come up with the name last night, but essentially people that buy, sell, and trade without going through governmental agencies. This is about 2/3 of the transactions that go on around the world in any given year. And the mantra of agorism is that we should disconnect from the system, the governmental system, and we should do it for principled reasons, and therefore we will starve the state by not giving them taxes. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, my wife happens to be from a third world country that's kind of totalitarian. It's called Eritrea. It's in Africa.
Yep.
Yeah.
But a large percentage
it's pretty darn totalitarian.
Yeah, no, she escaped just barely with her son. That's a whole other story, but
I'd love to hear it one time.
A large percentage of the country over there, they try and avoid using their currency because it's worthless and inflated like crazy. And I believe that if you would bear out, if you look at the other countries, that the percentage of agorism directly correlates to the power of the state. So while their state, I guess, they try and grip at power, they don't have nearly as much control over day-to-day things. They don't have the government with which to crack down on people using drugs or prostitution or gambling and these things that go on in people's homes because they don't have the money to hire that many people.
But so what they can't do is stop sort of individuals from being sort of free in their day-to-day lives. But what they can stop is they can stop the freedom of creating businesses, like real businesses that create jobs, build economies, really make people free. There's the percentage of the population that has, say, flat screen TVs and cars is probably significantly lower there in Eritrea, right?
Right, that's true.
So what the government is able to do, and what's very important that the government's able to do, is because they control the system, and working outside the system doesn't do anything to make people's lives better as far as the implementation of the system.
It makes it far better than it would be if they didn't have the agorist economy.
Sure. I mean, the Soviets had to have the black market in order to be able to have anything to eat in a lot of ways, from what I understand. So you're always going to have the underground, and the underground, I think, is very important. But I think where the agorism doesn't happen, and where it should happen if the agorists actually want to destroy the state eventually through competition, through peaceful competition, is they're going to have to start operating openly. I mean, open that restaurant without a permit, and then show us how agorism's really done, and show the world why it's so beneficial, and have yourself a SurfSafe certification or whatever kind of certification you should have, so you can let your customers know that everything's clean and safe. But agorists aren't going to do that because most of them don't have enough capital to open up their own real business. And anybody that does have that level of capital will all of a sudden become not an agorist anymore because they're too afraid of having their business shut down. There was a situation here in New Hampshire. I won't get into detail as to where it was, but there were a group of activists that were operating a kitchen, and they were cooking food for folks and delivering it. And people started sniffing around about, well, where's the location of the kitchen? Is it a licensed kitchen, etc.? And a couple of the operators got scared and decided they didn't want to do it anymore. So, agorism's a scary thing when you start operating openly, because then you're subject more so to the state cracking down on you. And I think the agorists have a long way to go before they'll ever have a chance of outcompeting the state out of business. I still want to see that agorist road crew. Where the hell are those guys?
Yeah. So what do you do to bring down the state?
What do I so
you sow?
This kind of leads into what I was originally talking about. Was I come from a fairly wealthy family. We had land. I grew up on a farm, and now me and my wife live on a healthy 6-figure salary.
Sweet.
And it's really, really hard for me. So when I came to Liberty, I was working for $7 an hour in a factory, listening to you guys 5 years ago, and on my podcast every day. And now I come to a point in my life where I want to reach out and do something like that. Like suddenly, I always said if I had the money, I would start something like this. But now that I
Like
do,
what?
I have so much to lose.
Like what?
No, like an agorist restaurant or something.
I see. Yeah.
Trying to contribute to the economy or invest heavily in Bitcoin or some way to help bring down the state in this way, because it seems what should be done, but people are so deeply ingrained, and myself included, that we don't want to lose the comforts we have.
Yep, that's one of you're right. As soon as you start to gain things in life, then they can start to take them away from you.
I suspect investing heavily in Bitcoin is not going to take away the comforts in your life, nor is picking up and moving your life to the Free State Project.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be a big step in the right direction, is move to a place where there are other people who can back you up on a project like this, who might also be interested in investing and or helping with, putting hours in and work in the shop or whatever it is you're going to be doing. I don't know how successful you're going to be in Delaware, but even here you're likely to be targeted. You're likely to be, you're likely to suffer some financial loss. But ultimately, are we really in this to sit pretty and enjoy a bunch of money? And
Ian's not.
I'm not. No, I'm not. I mean, look, I think there's something to be said for having a comfortable life. And I wouldn't want somebody to live a particularly uncomfortable or painful life. I mean, there's something nice to have leisure things. But at the same time, if we just ignore all the things going on around us just so we can have a big bank account, then what are we really contributing?
No, I think you're right. If you guys, as you guys have gotten something started there, you're causing a core to begin that would allow someone like me to maybe move into the area and feel comfortable enough to support in a more significant way without the ramifications of that you might fear in a more state-controlled area.
It's I've kind of had an interesting transition in this area of having things and being willing to give up those things. When you don't have things anymore, like for instance, as a minister in the Shire Free Church, sure, there are things within my control, but I've donated my house to the Shire Free Church, and the Shire Free Church is now paying a portion of the property taxes, which is getting a lien placed on the property, which could result in the property being stolen from me someday, and there's $200,000 down the drain. I mean, that's a pretty significant chunk of money for the average person there, but if you don't risk, you're never going to gain. But the thing is, once you don't have anything to lose anymore, even though you have money, if you're willing to lose it, they can't take anything from you. As long as you're willing to go through the process of losing your house, they have nothing over you anymore.
Yeah, a lot of families just aren't going to be able to do that.
I understand that. Thank you for the call, Aaron. I appreciate hearing from you. Well, if you want to be free, you're going to have to put something on the line eventually, I think. 855-450-FREE. What if a lot of families stopped paying property taxes together?
All right, hold on. We got to interrupt the regularly scheduled stuff for just a minute. I've got to tell you about this because it's weird. It'll make sense. What if I told you that eating this one weird spice could actually help you reverse diabetes? I know, it's crazy, right? Well, if you or somebody you care about has diabetes or pre-diabetes or easy for me to say, metabolic syndrome, you've got to check out this video. It's free. You may have heard about this. People who've tried it say that they've been able to normalize their blood sugar, stop taking their diabetes meds, and their doctors are all for it. So what is it? What's behind this? Well, the company says it's a natural drug-free approach to reversing diabetes, and they say that it works in as little as 4 weeks, and it all starts with this one weird kitchen spice you probably have in your kitchen right now. So you should check out the free video and see for yourself. It's at WeirdSpice55.com. So write that down. It's WeirdSpice55.com. WeirdSpice55.com.
What I'm about to tell you is based on information obtained from a little-known government document called FT900, This bombshell government document contains evidence of a political scandal that will destroy Obama's political career and ruin the retirement of millions of unprepared Americans. I've just posted a video at www.obamasecret.com that not only analyzes the contents of this document, but it walks you through the exact timeline of how and when this scandal is set to unfold. This imminent scandal will trigger a virtually unstoppable chain of events that will swipe trillions off markets and retirement accounts everywhere. This event will, however, also trigger what promises to be the biggest wealth transfer in the history of our nation. But you only have a few weeks left to take all the necessary steps to protect yourself and your family. Visit www.obamasecret.com to view my newly released video. Again, that's www.obamasecret.com before it's too late.
Free Talk Live.
I wish you would have answered the question as to what's the age range. I mean, if two 10-year-old boys are playing doctor with each other, and he was specific that he said it was okay for a boy and a girl to play doctor, which did happen to me when I was that age, but I was maybe 2.5, 3 years older than that girl. Am I a molester? She was the one trying to take my pants off. Should she go to jail?
You know, people like Lou, they get all upset over things like this when they're not even apprised of the facts. And you try to tell them the facts, and since it doesn't fit with their worldview, right. It doesn't fit with their core belief system, it can't be possibly true that I could have possibly have known what I was doing at that
Children
age.
who are engaged in sex with somebody who is older are being manipulated. That's one of them. And, sometimes that's true.
Absolutely. There's no doubt.
And sometimes it's not.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. It's the live Saturday edition of the program. We're in the remaining moments of the show here. And if you're not already on the lines, we're probably not going to be able to get you on here tonight. But if you didn't get a chance to get your thoughts on the air tonight, we do the show 7 nights a week. And it's live 7 nights a week. We don't do that best of nonsense here on Free Talk Live. So you can just call Mark's show tomorrow night. That's right. You're going to be in here with Stephanie and Brian, I presume, and doing the Sunday show, which is live 7 to 10 o'clock at night Eastern time, as we are 7 nights a week. So even if you don't get the show on your local talk radio station on Sunday night, you can still call and take part. You can still listen online at freetalklive.com. And if you do get the show on your local talk station, but not all 7 nights, call the program director and tell him thanks for airing Free Talk Live, and then ask real nicely for more. And if you don't get any Free Talk Live on your local talk radio station, say you're listening online or via satellite, you can call and talk to the program director and ask him nicely for any amount of Free Talk Live, and we sure would appreciate your efforts in doing that. Something else we appreciate is you becoming a Free Talk Live amplifier, because calling a local radio station is very helpful. Please do that for us. We sure do appreciate that. But also what is helpful is sending $5 a month to Free Talk Live so we can pay Daryl, for instance. He's one of our weekday co-hosts, Friday night co-host, to do affiliate relations for us. That's a radio term for calling radio stations as a job, essentially, and pitching the show. That's what I do during the week. And
we only use that money for things that advertise, market, or promote Free Talk Live.
That's right.
It doesn't go to paychecks to us.
It's the AMP program. It doesn't go to you and I, but some of the money is going to Daryl to bring him on for affiliate relations for the purpose of bringing more radio stations on. We're also doing advertising with the AMP money. We're advertising on Google Ads AdWords at the moment, and the Google AdWords campaign that we've started in the last couple months has coincided. Now, this is correlation, not necessarily causation, but it's awfully suggestive. The Google AdWords that we've started since February have coincided with a fairly gigantic increase, 28% increase in our podcast download numbers. So it went up from like 69,000 in February to 89,000 in April. It's been a huge jump. And I have a feeling that has to do with the fact that we're doing Google AdWords, because that's getting clicks. People are clicking on an advertisement for Free Talk Live, wanting to hear talk radio you control. That's what the advertisement says. So I imagine some of those folks are tuning in. And so you can help us do this with the AMP program. You get perks too, like access to the AMP Only Facebook group, the AMP Only forum, AMP Only podcast. Go to amp.freetalklive.com to learn more about it. That's amp.freetalklive.com. We've got Justin. He's on the line and via Skype from West Virginia. Hello, Justin.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Splendid. Go ahead with your thoughts tonight.
Okay, so I just wanted to touch base on some civil rights issues and what it means, like innocent until proven guilty.
Sure.
This doesn't seem to apply to people in my group. I'm part of a motorcycle club, and none of our members have any criminal background, behavior, or records. And yet we're constantly harassed by the police, illegally searched and detained, and I've even had property stolen from me by the police.
Wow.
The only reason why they've given us for stopping us was, and I quote, suspected gang activity, which is nonsensical rhetoric. You know, I mean, it's nonsense. So what you guys were saying earlier about the police from that previous caller and accountability, there comes a time when, you know, the police are around my property, around my bike, and around my, searching my property, when it really dawns on me that we outnumber them 37-1.
Yep.
And, you know, my thought is, you know, I'm sorry for saying this, but, you know, piss off. You don't have the right to bother me and my people. We're not performing any crime. We're not doing any crimes. So about police accountability, I mean, where do you guys think we should go on that?
Well, I don't know if I fully understand the question, so please flesh it out more for me. But let me just say, I fully support people holding the police accountable, and the best way to do it is with a video device and have all other people around with video devices. And, of course, you know, you're obviously under no obligation to talk to the police at any given time, which, of course, when you talk to them, you're only usually giving them evidence that they can use against you. But I don't know if I really understood your question.
Okay, specifically, like what you said about the videotaping the police, but once it's done, like right now, all of my guys are now getting GoPros and mounted them on everything we have. I mean, even our people, even our bodies.
Nice.
But before, I mean, we've had our motorcycle insignias taken from us, and I mean, I will kill you if you take my stuff. You know, I mean, I'm sorry to be that violent, but that's something that I pride myself on, and the fact is that they're taking these. Like, look at the motorcycle clubs that have been persecuted out west. I mean, you know, it's.
I wouldn't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The Mongols Motorcycle Club. They're a well-known, you know, organized crime group, as they call them. But that was back in the 70s. I mean, these guys sell stuff online now. You know. So the point is that police need to be checked and they need to be accountable for these things. But what should we do? I mean, should we fight back, or should we go through the nonsense of the civil system?
I think that the best thing that you can do, I think the best thing you can do, obviously, being physical with the police is never going to result in anything good. Really, it's just not. I mean, try to play it out in your mind. Take a deep breath. Get some time, go for a walk, and play it out in your mind. I mean,
if you need to, remember the story we told you earlier about the guy who shot a cop and then ended up getting shot at with 377 rounds by 25 cops.
Right. So that's I can go ahead and slide that off the table. Unless one's one's life or one's family's lives are in danger from a rogue police officer, I'm just going to go ahead and slide that off the table. Second thing. I know. There are a lot of people listening.
Yes, sir.
So the second thing I would say is look, there's civil suits out there. That
won't work.
You can try it, but I don't.
They have immunity on most things.
I don't think that it's going to have a lot of luck. I think the best thing you can do is get this audio and video that you're going to get from these circumstances and put it online. The
Copblock.org has a user submission portion on their site. So I got I don't know if you know what happened to appear this week in Keene, but there was a DEA raid of a head shop here, and I was on the scene with my camera recording everything those cops did every time they came out of the building, recording through the windows, etc. And I took the video that I edited, and of course I uploaded it to the Free Keene YouTube channel, but to get it some extra views, I submitted that as a story to copblock.org, and they've got editors in there who review all those submissions, and they'll publish most of them, I mean, if they're decent, to their website. Now, Copblock's got a huge site, so that would be a way to get some extra eyes on whatever footage it is that you come out with.
Yeah, that's the Copblock is actually the reason why we started mounting GoPros on everything.
Excellent.
Just because, for surveillance of them. I mean, Big Brother and Big Data surveying us anyway, so we might as well do it to them.
And I don't know, the biker mentality and the kind of culture better than I do, but it's always been my understanding that bikers are very open to the ideas of liberty, that they're naturally acclimated to them because they're always getting screwed with by the cops. But how many bikers know their rights? How prevalent is that within the biker community?
I'll be honest with you. I am a civil rights activist for my people and what we're trying to do. And I try to go around to all the clubs that will accept me and educate them. Not a lot know about what their actual rights are. Now, there's the inalienable right of, you F with me, I'll F with you kind of thing. But, the real rights of our government comes down to not a lot. There are many members of these motorcycle clubs are veterans of, previous wars and things like that. But they're not that up on civil laws. I mean, military
Well, that might be an area of outreach then, because I know that here in Keene, I love doing Cop Block outreach where we've got these great Cop Block warning flyers that kind of go through, these are your rights to the police. You don't have to talk to them. You can ask if you're being detained. If not, walk away. They'll give people just a rundown. You can record the police. We encourage recording. So kind of a rundown of your rights, and it's a real simple card. It's like a quarter page. You can get them for your own area and print them out, and then maybe you could customize something to be more kind of biker oriented, more custom to sort of the situations that a biker might be more likely to encounter, and continue doing outreach. Go to the big bike shows like Sturgis, and there's one here in New Hampshire. I don't know if you've been to the Weirs Beach bike rally they have up here.
Laconia?
But I thought it happened on Weirs Beach, but yeah, it's near Laconia. They're right next door to them. Have you been to that one before?
No, I have not.
You know about these, right? Like these rallies where thousands of bikers come to, and
we get the memo.
Yeah, they party, and the police love to hassle these guys. I mean, the cops, they know they can come down there and they can hit them with tickets for nonsense, like being parked in the wrong place or whatever, and then they just write up a bunch of tickets, and they know these dudes, the bikers, are just going to probably pay it because they're probably not going to want to come back to Weirs Beach to go to court. So these are great opportunities because the cops are always screwing with the people at these bike rallies. Great opportunity to do some outreach on people's rights. And I would say team up with Cop Block and maybe, get in touch with Pete or the crew over at copblock.org and, find out what resources they already have, and then see if you know any, graphically bikers that know how to do graphics, and then come up with something custom and then share that back with Cop Block so they can share it out to other bikers. And thank you, Justin, for the call tonight. Let us know how it goes. Appreciate hearing from you. We are out of time for tonight. And then move the biker gang up to New Hampshire because you can ride without your helmet on up here. See you tomorrow night online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
Are you looking for camping, hunting, survival, or shooting gear? ManVentureOutpost.com carries the name brands you want at the lowest prices. Ammunition, knives, firearm accessories, archery, air guns, scopes, binoculars, laser sights, tactical flashlights, fish finders, and boating equipment. ManVentureOutpost.com is family-owned and has the lowest prices. Go check it for yourself. Get it quick. Get it from ManVentureOutpost.com.
Now buy firearms at ManVentureOutpost.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
The live edition of Off the Air Live is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
Radio VR.
Good morning and welcome to Radio VR. We're broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. and around the world on voiceofrussia.com/US. I'm Kate Zickel.
And I'm Rick Young. Today is Friday, May 9th, 2014.
Radio VR News.
Will the eighth time be the charm for House Republicans? The House has voted to open yet another probe into the deadly attack on the U.S. diplomatic mission in Benghazi, Libya. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports the Democrats say this latest investigation is really all about politics.
The vote was mostly along party lines.
The yeas are 232. The nays are 186.
Although 7 Democrats broke rank and joined Republicans supporting the new Select Committee to investigate the Benghazi attack. House Speaker John Boehner says nearly 2 years later, there are many unanswered questions.
4 Americans died at the hands of terrorists in a well-coordinated assault. And we will not take any shortcuts to the truth.
But Democrats like New York's Louise Slaughter think there's a political motive.
Reporters have asked the leadership